Chapter 1107. Above the deep blue sky, a streak of light descended straight down, silently crashing into the horizon. The world became silent for a split second. All of a sudden, countless birds took flight, panicking as they flew in the opposite direction of the horizon. The beasts also began to flee towards the horizon. They were desperately trying to escape, forming a tidal wave that swept across the land. Quite a few demis flew across the sky, heading towards the horizon to observe the situation. What exactly happened? An indescribable atmosphere began to envelop the entire world. Countless tiny noises began to resound from deep underground. The noises grew louder and louder. The ground trembled. From afar, the trembling of the ground could be felt below everyone's feet. The apocalypse of Calming Soul Country was about to descend. Boss looked up and asked, "You want to destroy this world?" Gu Qing-shan replied, "This can also be considered destruction. It's not something that the demis can save. No matter how much I think about it, only that monster that manifested as the origin law of this world would have the ability to save it." Zhang Yung-ho understood and said, "That monster had already fused with a part of this world's origin law. It would definitely not sit by and watch as the world is destroyed." Lola also realized. Once the world is destroyed, that monster would also be heavily injured or even killed, so it would definitely try to save this world, Yi Feili said. Which means, after it noticed the situation, it would definitely leave the royal palace. Everyone went silent. Zhang Yung-ho sighed and said, "So that's why, that monster isn't in the royal palace. This is our only chance." Rumble rumble. A series of earth-shattering noises resounded from deep underground. The ground began to collapse. The entire world began to tremble and shake, and it was getting more and more intense. At this point, a streak of light quickly returned from the horizon and landed in front of Gu Qing-shan. The earth soared. It spoke with a heavy mountainous voice. "As you said, I've placed that thing underground," Gu Qing-shan replied. "Very well, Lola, we can hide now." Lola opened her flower umbrella. Everyone disappeared. Gu Qing-shan then carefully explained her arrangements. Lola said in surprise, "What? Do you think that even though the Soul Shrieker can't find us, it would still wait for us to appear in the void of space outside?" Gu Qing-shan nodded without hesitation. Zhang Yung-ho scowled. "If the Soul Shrieker really is outside, that would be troublesome. Are you sure?" Gu Qing-shan replied, "I'm absolutely sure." "Why are you so sure?" Boss asked in a rare moment. Gu Qing-shan explained. The Soul Shrieker had spent countless efforts and made numerous preparations, all for the sake of having the age-of-old humans forge the twin swords heaven and earth for it. It was hiding in God Institute in the 900 million world layers, faking its death to hide its tracks and secretly arrange everything. It really seized the opportunity of the parallel world invasion to complete the descent of the era of chaos in one fell swoop, from the Soul Shrieker's way of doing things. It's a guy that won't stop until it reaches its goal. I have the final Demon King order on me. It will definitely catch up to me and kill me. There is no chance of that happening." Boss silently listened and sighed. "We can't win against it right now." "That's right," Gu Qing-shan agreed. "We also can't win against the God of Life. Over 100 million years ago, even the old deities couldn't kill it. But we're about to kill the 4 servants of the God of Life," Zhang Yung-ho said. Yi Feili said, "It seems we're stuck between 2 deities this time, and both of them want our lives." Everyone fell silent. This was truly a despairing situation. "That's why," Gu Qing-shan shrugged, "why don't we introduce them to each other?" At the same time, the vast and boundless land was torn apart. Lava and black flames hidden deep underground rushed to the sky. Countless forests and wilderness began to crumble. The world's destruction was rapidly accelerating. Roar, a furious roar resounded from deep underground. Countless black tentacles shot up to the sky. At the place where all the tentacles ended, there was a half-human figure. It was a withered old woman. "Who is it that dares to destroy Calming Soul Country?" She uttered a high-pitched female voice, filled with rage as she madly scanned the entire world. but no one answered her. The world was still being destroyed. The old woman had no choice but to dive into the ground and unleash the countless tentacles. The black tentacles reached deep into the world, appearing at every broken point, wanting to piece the entire world back together. This was a huge undertaking. Although she was the godmother of the four deities, the ruler of this world, she couldn't just piece the world back together in a hurry. All of a sudden, a few tentacles discovered something from the depths of the ground. The black tentacles caught the item and brought it to the old woman. It was a small black box made from an unknown material, but it was incredibly sturdy. Not even the trembling of the earth just now was able to damage it. The old woman pointed a finger. The box silently shattered without leaving anything behind. A sparkling and translucent jade slip appeared in front of her, safe and sound. As soon as the box was destroyed, the jade tag gave off light. At the very next second, the jade tag was activated. The light erupted from the jade tag, using the simplest light manifestation technique of the cultivation world to form a realistic image in the void of space. Half of the face was a man, while the other half was a woman, displaying a malicious smirk. A voice came from the jade tag frowny face. The legendary deity of chaos, the great soul shrieker hereby declares, in accordance with this deity's will, this world must be destroyed. A surrender. Prostrate yourself at the feet of the deity of chaos. Swear to become the deity's slave. Only by doing so will you have a chance to survive. The old woman stared at the communication talisman and gritted her teeth. The deity of chaos? What the hell is that? The voice from the communication talisman continued. As the Lord of Chaos, this deity had ascended to the deity realm 3 days ago, becoming the only true deity within the 900 million world layers. You must. The communication talisman was abruptly torn to shreds. The old woman's eyes gave off a green sense of madness. So she was just a guy who had just ascended to deity. So there aren't even deities in the 900 million world layers anymore. If I wasn't afraid that this body of mine would attract even more terrifying monsters, a pathetic new deity dares to act so presumptuously in front of me? Once I find you, your only fate will be to become my food, she muttered in a low voice. Boom! However, during this short pause, the collapse of the earth started to accelerate once again. The old woman clenched her teeth and had no choice but to think of a way to repair the damage to the world. At another location, as time passed, the trembling of the earth stopped becoming more and more intense. As long as one carefully sensed it, they would notice that the collapse of the world was slowing down. It's done, the god of life is currently saving this world. Xianya, take us to the royal palace, Gu Qingshan said. Got it. Xianya replied and activated fearless teleportation. Gu Qingshan Lola recalled a loophole and couldn't help but ask, what if the god of life had already finished repairing the world before we could kill those 4 fake deities? What do we do then? Swirling starlight appeared around everyone. Fearless teleportation had been activated. They would soon arrive at the royal palace. Gu Qingshan replied, if that's the case, I'll use the earth sword to smash this world again. The light intensified. With a ho, everyone disappeared without a trace. Chapter 1108. There was still an hour before the coronation ceremony. The earth suddenly began to tremble. Without any warning, the entire world began to collapse. Powerful professionists were able to sense the arrival of the apocalypse. They all moved out to check on the changes in the world. The royal palace. While the combatants' attention was drawn by the tremors, the royal palace was becoming colder and colder. The situation this time was quite unique. The old king was already dead, the new king was only 3 years old and had yet to inherit the throne, so the officials weren't in a hurry to enter the royal palace. Because of that, when the apocalypse arrived, there weren't many people in the royal palace. At this point, in a relatively secluded corner of the royal palace, in front of a certain tower, A voice suddenly resounded from the void of space. Frowny face, light of the crown. The door of the tower opened, allowing Gu Qingshan's group to enter. The group followed the stairs to the top of the tower. This was a library that stored precious books from the previous generations of the royal family. Everyone stood among the books and looked around. "Where is it?" Lola asked. "Let me see. There it is," Gu Qingshan replied. He walked up to a bookshelf and pointed at a thick book covered in dust. "The kings don't trust me, but the two guardians have sworn loyalty to the royal family, so the guardians know where the previous kings are hiding," Gu Qingshan explained. "Don't they know that we're here?" Zhang Yongho asked. Gu Qingshan smiled. "They're also afraid of being discovered by the monster and the four gods, so they've temporarily concealed their presence and hid inside the book. Only when the coronation ceremony is about to begin would they wake up and meet up with me. Is that so? No wonder I felt like this was some sort of soul artifact book to nurture souls." Yi Fei Li stared at the book and commented. Lola carefully took out a certain item from her backpack. A small and transparent hourglass that contained sparkling pink sand. "Let me." Gu Qingshan received the hourglass and put it on top of the soul artifact book. Lola chanted an incantation. A brief moment of love, activate. A cloud of fine sand suddenly appeared and flowed into the soul vessel book from the hourglass. "Alright, this is a super rare time shackle soul artifact. It can slow down the flow of time within a 3-meter radius," Lola said. "How long can it be delayed?" Boss asked. 1 hour in the real world is equivalent to 2 hours within its range, Lola commented. 2 hours? Enough. Gu Qingshan said. 2 hours was long enough. By the time the kings woke up and prepared to kill the god of life, the entire battle was already over, and it would be too late. "Why do you have to deal with these kings like this? Can't we borrow their power?" Lola asked curiously. Gu Qingshan solemnly taught her. "Laura, you can try to think about it. They're a group of hundreds of cunning and astute people. For countless years, they've spent all of their efforts to set up countless traps in this world. Provoking these old fellows will be an arduous and unrewarding task. Let's take a step back. Our goal is only to take the card and successfully escape from this world," Lola hesitantly asked. "But is it really enough to avoid these troubles?" Gu Qingshan replied. "We aren't afraid of battle, but making things a bit simpler is also the correct way to deal with it." After this matter was dealt with, Gu Qingshan herself felt a lot more relaxed. The previous kings were the biggest uncertainty in this entire matter. As long as they can be excluded from the battle, the uncertainty of the battle would be much smaller. Zhang Yongho praised. "That's how it should be. We have no grudges against them, there's no reward for killing them, there's no friendship for helping them, so it's best to avoid them if possible." Lola slowly nodded. "Then what do we do now?" Yi Fei Li asked. Xian Yu's child is directly related to the god of life's survival, but the god of life has already left to save the world, so I'm guessing that the only ones she can trust are the four gods, Gu Qingshan replied. "Let's go," Boss said. Lola opened her umbrella. Everyone disappeared. The entire tower returned to silence. The hourglass and the Book of Soul artifacts were hidden among the pile of books, so you wouldn't be able to find them unless you purposefully looked for them. This was the most secluded place in the entire palace. Very few people would come here. Not to mention, today was the day of the new king's coronation. In other words, the previous kings of the past had prepared for this day for countless years. But when the day actually came, the kings were excluded by Gu Qingshan in a simple and crude way. They would all miss out on this battle. Gu Qingshan's group quickly moved through the palace. A few moments later, they stopped. 30 meters in front of them was the new king's coronation ceremony platform. The gate of the palace behind the platform was already open. The 3-year-old king was sitting there with a solemn expression on his face, allowing the maids next to him to dress him in his regal attire. Seems like he's been through a lot these past few days. Xianyu was so heartbroken that she almost couldn't hold back her tears. "Don't worry, it'll be over soon," Gu Qingshan lightly told her. He exchanged glances with Boss. The two of them let go of their umbrellas and appeared at the same time. "Who are you? Hurry, hand over your weapons and surrender." The moment they appeared, a few palace knights immediately appeared and blocked their path. The knights anxiously shouted. I think we're here to assassinate the king," Boss replied. "Yes, to assassinate the king," Gu Qingshan nodded. He drew the earth sword from the void of space and lightly swung it. Single strike realm. Sanctuary. Tai sword style. This strike came without any warning. Everyone could only see the air warping as intense wind blew. The wind was everywhere. The knights didn't even have time to react before they were sent flying. While they were still in the air, their weapons and armors were destroyed by the sword phantoms, their naked bodies carried away by the wind. Arg, what kind of swordsmanship is this? Impossible! Their panicked shouts slowly faded away along with the wind. Gu Qingshan sheathed her sword. This strike's control over power was so precise that none of the knights suffered a single wound. And this strike was so powerful that no one had any room to resist. This strike alone was stronger than the thousands of strikes from before. Seeing that, Boss begrudgingly let go of the black trident in his hand. This trident was a powerful divine armament that came from the occultism spirit, so it should have been able to shine during the confrontation just now. Unfortunately, a casual swing of Gu Qingshan's sword had already dealt with everything. The two of them continued towards the king. Suddenly, they stopped at the same time. 4 figures surrounded them. "Foolish mortals," the wind god appeared. "You dared to commit murder in Calming Soul Country," the earth god appeared. "Although the godmother isn't here, it won't be too hard for us to take your lives," the fire god declared. "You shall die here," the water god declared. 4 fake gods appeared at once. Boss nodded. So they really were protecting the royal family, but what? Gu Qingshan asked. "Why do I feel like we're the bad guys here?" Boss doubtfully asked. "We've always been the bad guys," Gu Qingshan replied. He raised his other hand that was hiding inside his sleeve. 1 gold. 3 silver. The ring of sovereign and the ring of protectors were on his finger. The 4 rings gave off a resounding noise. Gu Qingshan shouted, "I am the holder of the kingdom's authority, the king of all demis. Your souls contain the will to obey the royal authority. This is the rule set down by the gods. I command you, all of you kneel." The 4 rings gave off a blinding light. Chapter 1109. Under the power of the 4 rings, the divine radiance of the 4 false gods completely disappeared. They returned to their original appearances. Demis. They were originally normal demis. The lost ring of sovereign, as well as the 3 rings of protectors. That's impossible. Who exactly are you? The 4 gods couldn't help but kneel down. They tried their best to think of a way to resist the 4 rings. Unfortunately, it was useless. This was an order that came from the divine covenant, engraved into the souls of all demis. Furthermore, Gu Qingshan didn't give them any chance to do so. This was an extremely crucial step. To prevent any mistakes, Gu Qingshan gave up on the chance to attack and focused all her attention on controlling the 4 rings. The 4 gods knelt down. But they didn't give up and opened their mouths at the same time to chant the hymn of God. "Great Matriarch, I summon you." Gu Qingshan's expression changed and hurriedly shouted, "Don't let them summon that monster." He controlled the 4 rings with all his might to suppress the 4 gods' bodies, forcing them to kneel down without moving, but he couldn't stop them from chanting the hymn. Boss acted. "Don't even think about it." He grabbed the black trident and threw it towards Wind God. The black trident pierced through Wind God's chest and turned into a black tide that spread around his body. "No, save!" Wind God gave up on chanting and shouted for help, but the black tide quickly drowned him. His voice was quickly cut off. The other 3 fake gods' expressions changed. They could sense that Wind God's flesh was being devoured by the weapon. In the blink of an eye, Wind God disappeared without a trace, leaving only the black trident stabbed into the ground by itself. The black tide flowed around the trident, continuously swirling around it until it flowed along the trident and formed a black shadow on the ground. This was Wind God's corpse. The other three gods appeared fearful and quickly chanted the hymn of God. Matriarch, you are the eternal within the infinite, and we are your subjects. We report to you, our lives are being threatened. Boss didn't say a word and sped up his attack. When he tossed out the halberd, he had already taken out the Book of Destiny and prepared it as quickly as possible. He picked up a burning page in his hand and threw it towards the two gods. Flames of nihility. Gray flames erupted and enveloped the two deities. The two gods didn't even have time to scream before they were burned to ashes by the flames. The gray flame quickly shrank and collapsed into a small gray dot. Soon, the gray dot also disappeared completely. Two gods were dead. In the blink of an eye, 3 of the 4 gods were gone. Fire God was the furthest away from the battlefield, so he was lucky enough to avoid being burned by the flames of nothingness. He sang the song of praise of God with all his might until he reached the last line. Mother Goddess, please descend to this place and go for me. Vulcan's chin tilted, and his last sentence was suddenly out of tune. At the same time, a gunshot rang out in the void not far away. Clack! A bullet hit Vulcan's chin, causing blood to spurt out. The hymn of the god of fire was thus interrupted. Seizing the opportunity, the boss rushed forward and grabbed the black trident that was stuck in the ground. Die! The boss shouted. The black trident carried the howling black tide as it stabbed towards Vulcan. As the trident approached, Vulcan was about to die. Suddenly, key! A loud noise. The black trident was stopped by the sword. Gu Qing Shan wielded her sword to stop the boss's attack. Why did you stop me? The boss asked. Something's not right, Gu Qing Shan replied. He scowled and looked at where the other 3 gods originally stood. No card. The water god card didn't appear. Boss also realized and put the black trident away, speaking in surprise. That's indeed not right. The card created by the Order wouldn't disappear with their deaths, but we can't find any card. Gu Qing Shan silently nodded. Drawing the god of life away, trapping the previous kings, even using the 4 rings to fight against the 4 fake gods, finally winning against them in just a few breaths worth of time. But the card is nowhere to be found. Gu Qing Shan clenched her fist tightly. But now isn't the time to think. The god of life can sense all life and death in this world. She must have known about the deaths of the 3 fake gods just now. I need to escape right now. But the card is still nowhere to be found. Gu Qing Shan quickly said, Xianya, take the child. Fei Li, capture their souls. Don't let the souls of the 3 gods leak our location. While he was talking, Xianya abruptly appeared and returned with the child. A long hook circled around the battlefield once, carrying 3 faint ghostly figures with it before disappearing into the void of space. Boss, take this guy. Got it. Boss turned the halberd around and stabbed the other end into Vulcan's chest. All of Vulcan's powers were instantly sealed. This sealing power was the Black Trident's hidden ability. Umbrella teleport, Gu Qing Shan said again. He didn't just stand there, casually putting a jade tag into a black box and tossed it on the ground. Lola arrived with the umbrella. Xianya activated, fearless teleportation. Sha. The group vanished from the royal palace. While it sounds slow, from the moment Gu Qing Shan and Boss appeared, to the moment the 4 gods showed up, were killed, captured, and teleported away, only a short 7 breaths worth of time had passed. 7 breaths worth of time. Everything was over. The 8th breath, boom! The solid ground of the royal palace broke apart. Countless black tentacles moved in a frenzy. At the end of all the tentacles, there was half a person. It was an old lady. The god of life. She noticed the deaths of her subordinates and returned in time. Damn it! Who was it? Who dared to kill my servant? Her voice was cut off. Because she suddenly noticed that the last of her royal bloodline was gone. On the ground in front of her, there was a black box lying there quietly. The old lady instantly recognized this black box. The black box was broken open with a single finger. A piece of white jade laid inside, activated as the box was broken. The white jade hovered in the air, giving off a light that manifested the soul shrieker's appearance. A threatening voice rang out, "Surrender, or die. You don't have much time to consider, come, kneel in front of me." Crack! The white jade was crushed. The old lady displayed a frenzied expression and muttered with a malicious tone, "You're nothing but a new deity. Do you really want to be eaten by me so badly?" At another location, a secluded area of the city, Xian Yu's original room, the void of space trembled briefly before returning to normal. The group reappeared. Boss raised his black halberd and pushed the fake deity against the wall. Gu Qingshan walked forward. "Let's cut to the chase. I'll make a deal. I'll spare your life, but you'll tell me, where exactly did you hide the water god card?" Fire deity breathed heavily, glaring at Gu Qingshan. He suddenly laughed maniacally. "So you were dreaming of obtaining the order card? Ahahaha, stop dreaming. The order card has fused with Godmother. No one can take that card away from her." Chapter 11:10. What do you mean by fusing? Gu Qingshan asked. "Don't ask too much for now. I'll only tell you if you agree to a few conditions," the fake god slowly replied. "What conditions?" Gu Qingshan asked. "If you're sincere, let me think about it for a bit first." The fake god appeared contemplative, as if he really was considering some benefits. Gu Qingshan looked at him and suddenly said, "Something's not right with you. What do you mean?" Before the fake god could finish, a cold gleam of a sword flashed. The fake god's limbs flew off. His head was caught by Gu Qingshan with one hand. The Chao Yin sword hovered in the air, right next to the fake god's neck. "Lola, seal him," Gu Qingshan said. "Got it." Lola jumped forward and hung 179 necklaces on the fake god's neck. "I think he's stalling for time." Gu Qingshan scowled and quickly told everyone. "His life is in someone else's hands, but he doesn't want to live," only using words to evade. "I'm guessing he's doing this because the monster can sense his location. I'll take him away now and ask for more information," Zhang Yongho said. "Wait a minute. If the monster really is..." Gu Qingshan cut him off. "This guy's soul is very strong. Soul reading will take 30 seconds in total." Before she finished, Gu Qingshan had already grabbed the fake god and disappeared from everyone's sight. A second later, boom! A black tentacle shot out from the ground, then disappeared in the blink of an eye. Countless black tentacles broke through the roof, chasing after the direction where Gu Qingshan disappeared. The group silently hovered in the air. Lola was still holding her umbrella, hiding under it to avoid being discovered by the monster. "That monster really can sense the fake god's location," Boss pondered. "That was close. We were so close to being wiped out," Zhang Yongho sighed in relief. At the last moment, Gu Qingshan reacted in time and immediately grabbed the fake god and left. The monster's tentacles reached into the house and found that there was nothing there. The fake god was moving quickly, so it naturally chased after him. Fortunately, everyone was spared. Lola looked down at the black tentacles that were disappearing like a flood and said anxiously, "How could this be? What about Gu Qingshan?" "Don't worry," Boss said calmly. "He said that the soul-searching skill will last for 30 seconds. Boss opened the book of prophesied destinies and flipped to Gu Qingshan's page. "I will summon him back in 30 seconds. Yi Feili took a deep breath and said nervously, "Now let's see if he can last for 30 seconds. Zhang Yongho told Xianya, "We can't stay here any longer. Find a secluded location and teleport us there, then prepare to receive Gu Qingshan." "Very well," Xianya nodded. She immediately began to prepare fearless teleportation. At another location, Gu Qingshan had flown out of the city and was running through the wilderness. He held the fake god's forehead in one hand and wielded the earth sword in the other. Soul searching activated. The The scenes hidden deep within the fake god's memories began to surface. All of a sudden, a tidal wave of black tentacles caught up to him. Gu Qingshan's figure flashed and disappeared. He reappeared at a certain location over 1,000 kilometers away. Ground shrink. But as soon as he reappeared, 7 to 8 black tentacles abruptly manifested from the ground in front of him. Gu Qingshan swung his sword. A large crescent-white sword phantom flashed and cut all the black tentacles in half. Lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI frowny face. You've expended 70,000 soul points to activate Earth's choice, and destroyed the void demon body. Tentacles of the god of life, attention! You did not kill the other party, so you cannot obtain soul points from this battle. TCH, I spent 70,000 tentacles just to kill a tentacle. That's not worth it at all. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but put his sword away, grabbed the fake god tightly, and fled in another direction. The black tentacles on the ground continued to manifest. From afar, a resounding and furious voice resounded from the royal palace. Die. Gu Qingshan remained unfazed and continued to evade the tentacles from the ground while completing his soul-searching technique. Sha 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 sha. The tentacles were like long whips, but also like sharp spears, shooting towards him. Gu Qingshan's figure flashed like a bolt of lightning, weaving through the countless tentacles by himself. At almost every second, he was hovering on the line between life and death. Time slowed to a crawl. After over 100 dodging attempts, only 2 seconds had passed. What an intense hunt this was! All of a sudden, Gu Qingshan was surrounded by black tentacles all around him. He was completely surrounded. The black tentacles swept towards him. Gu Qingshan's figure shifted and shot towards the sky. He understood that this entire wilderness was filled with the other party's tentacles, so no matter where he ran, he would only be walking into a trap. Fly. Quickly fly. Gu Qingshan was like a giant bird, flying as fast as lightning. On the ground behind him, countless black tentacles were writhing in a frenzy, following him all the way to the sky. While Gu Qingshan was fast, the tentacles were faster. They turned into countless afterimages that tried to wrap around Gu Qingshan's body from every direction. Gu Qingshan held the fake god's forehead in his hand and flew between the black tentacles with a blurry movement. It was almost impossible to see his figure. Thanks to his countless battle experiences, his premonition of life and death situations, as well as ground shrink, he was able to barely avoid the black tentacles. Again and again. Only when he couldn't avoid them anymore would he swing his sword to cut off the tentacles. His soul points were rapidly being consumed. 4 seconds passed. The 5th second. I still need 25 long seconds to finish searching through the fake god's memories. Gu Qingshan hid in the clouds. The tide of darkness surged in from all directions like a huge mouth, completely devouring the clouds. There was nothing but a single tree in the clouds. The black tentacles weren't interested in this tree and quickly retreated. They found out that they had been tricked. Divine skill, shadow shift. Gu Qingshan instantly appeared at the edge of the ocean, standing where the tree originally was. In front of him, the ocean was as deep as an abyss. As he was about to swing the Chao Yin sword and dive into the ocean, he suddenly stopped. An old lady was standing on the surface of the ocean. Her lower body was made of countless wriggling tentacles. She was blocking his way. "Tell me, how do you want to die?" The old lady squinted her eyes and asked. Gu Qingshan put his sword away, bowed, and asked, "May I ask who you are?" The old lady was a bit surprised. Gu Qingshan muttered, "This humble one is a servant of the deity of chaos. I came to this blessed land to discuss a transaction. The deity of chaos? Do you not know what your deity has done?" The old lady muttered in a low voice, her tone was murderous. Gu Qingshan shrugged. "Your deity, I brought countless soul artifacts to this world in order to complete a single transaction." The old lady's tightly clenched fists suddenly froze. "Soul artifacts? Indeed, if I want to advance further, I need a large number of soul artifacts. In the secret passage earlier, this person also took out a true soul artifact to exchange for that girl's soul. What exactly does your deity want? The old lady forcefully suppressed her killing intent and asked. If it was something that she didn't care about, she could use it to exchange for a soul artifact. After all, no matter what the outcome of a full-powered battle against a deity was, there would always be unpredictable consequences. For example, the perfect hiding place of Calming Soul Country would definitely be destroyed during the battle between two deities. This was something she didn't want to see. Gu Qingshan's thoughts were quickly moving. In front of his eyes, lines of glowing text were scrolling past. Frowny face, you've encountered a unique void monster. Card. Soul Stealer's Body, home of the god of life's soul. This is a unique monster created from the fusion of a water god card, an ancient void monster, and a deity of the inner plane. Card grade. Gold. If you want to use Earth's Choice to kill this monster, you will need 50 million soul points as well as summoning the Earth Sword. A gold card. Gu Qingshan was shocked. According to the card grade, above Lapis was Azure, above Azure was Dark Violet, and above Dark Violet was Gold. Thanks to the gold card. Earthen Dual Body, Gu Qingshan managed to turn the tables in the age of old and won against the Abyssal Fate Weaver, Lin. Who would have thought he would once again encounter a gold card in Calming Soul Country? Winning against this card requires 50 million soul points. This was an astronomical number that he couldn't accept. Gu Qingshan immediately realized something. Perhaps this monster is much stronger than the Soul Shrieker. The Soul Shrieker had only just achieved deification 3 days ago. But this monster was already able to fight against the deities by itself since the age of old. Now that it had turned into the god of life and obtained the order card of the human army, how strong would it be? Gu Qingshan's thoughts quickly turned and continued to ponder. The god of life didn't stop after taking over the monster's body and actually turned herself into a card. Why would she do that? Is she being cautious or afraid? If she's afraid, what is she afraid of? Gu Qingshan cleared her throat and replied. The deity of a chaos, the great soul shrieker needs to destroy the order. Destroy the order? The old lady repeated. Gu Qingshan sincerely explained. Indeed, the final order of all worlds is hidden in Calming Soul Country. As long as you hand over that order, the deity of chaos will grant you many soul artifacts as a reward and exchange. This was the truth. The Soul Shrieker did indeed come here to kill the Demon King order. But to the old lady's ears, these words carried a completely different meaning. She had taken over the order card of the human army for herself, turned herself into a golden card, and obtained endless power. How could she hand it over? How could she possibly hand it over? Destroy the order. The old lady's killing intent rose and coldly scoffed. The previous order no longer exists. Let your master leave. Gu Qingshan observed her from top to bottom and hesitantly replied. Unfortunately, our master can sense that there is indeed a wielder of order in this world, he continued. But if you say there isn't, then forget it, the deal is off, bye-bye. Gu Qingshan turned around and left. The old lady froze. Gu Qingshan abruptly stopped and threw the fake god back to her. Ha, this person seems to be one of yours. I'll return him to you now, so we're even. Goodbye. The old lady reached her black tentacles out to catch the fake god and lightly examined it. The fake god was no longer breathing. Not even his soul remained. If that's the case, I have no way of knowing what happened. The old lady gritted her teeth. Bastard! Stop right there. Sure enough, Gu Qingshan stopped. But at the very next moment, he disappeared without a trace. 30 seconds had passed. Gu Qingshan had been summoned back by the boss's fate technique. At the same time, deep in the sky, the tree that Gu Qingshan used, Shadow Shift, was quickly falling down. All of a sudden, a cold gleam of light flashed through the tree. The Earth Sword appeared. It turned into a streak of light and once again crashed into the ground. Rumble, 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 the wind howled. The sky darkened. The world that the god of life had just repaired was once again on the verge of collapse. Chapter 11:11. The peak of the mountain range. There were no structures here, it was a desolate place. How do we break through calming Soul Country's protective barrier? Gu Qingshan asked. Unless the Ring of Sovereign and the 3 rings of protection are destroyed, or the old gods themselves come to dispel the barrier, Xianyu replied. Gu Qingshan nodded and said nothing else. He stood on top of a protruding rock, observing the ground below. The trembling and collapse of the earth didn't last for too long. Deep underground, countless black tentacles were weaving a net that covered the entire world, nullifying all destructive impacts. That old lady is truly powerful. She could even stop the collapse of the world in the shortest amount of time possible. Gu Qingshan fell into thought. After receiving the fake deity's memories, he realized just how unfathomable the power of the god of life was. Not only did the old lady possess the knowledge and divine power of a deity, but she also had the overwhelming vitality and fighting strength of a void monster. She was also continuously studying the laws of power within the card. She was already able to split a portion of the power of the human army for the 4 fake deities to use. It was almost impossible to achieve this, because Water God wasn't on the card. So in the end, the old lady had to slowly comprehend the power of order. Not to mention anything else, being able to achieve this much was truly impressive. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but sigh. Who could possibly win against an entity of this level? In this era, most deities were already dead. Only one deity remained. The deity of chaos, the Soul Shrieker. Can it really do it? Behind Gu Qingshan, everyone else was also at a loss. Yi Feili cleared his throat and said, "It seems there's only one way to kill this monster, what is it?" Lola asked. Yi Feili walked toward Xianya, his gaze falling onto the child in her arms. "Kill this child and cause the god of life to be destroyed for the oath she once made." Xianya looked at him and took a few steps back. Yi Feili stopped and said helplessly, "Hey, this is the only strategy. Didn't you die once too? Wait until the monster is killed, then let Gu Qingshan resurrect your child. Isn't that enough?" Xianyu was startled. That was right. As long as he could kill the god of life, all his problems would be solved. Besides, he had personally experienced the miracle of resurrection. As long as Gu Qingshan was here, life and death did not matter. If the temporary pain of the children could be exchanged for the rebirth of the entire nation of divine descendants, this sacrifice was nothing. Moreover, all of the demis would thank their children afterwards. As the king, his throne would be incomparably secure. Xianya hesitated. Suddenly, a voice came from afar. "No." Gu Qingshan looked at the land that was gradually recovering and said without turning her head, "Why?" Yi Feili asked. "I don't intend to use that resurrection ability again for a very long time," Gu Qingshan replied. Seeing everyone's confused looks, he explained. "This is a restriction of the oath of heaven and earth. If you violate it, you will be chased by the laws of heaven and earth until you die." Lola immediately asked, "Who gave you such a restriction of the oath?" Gu Qingshan replied, "I'll do it myself." Yi Feili couldn't help but ask, "Why?" "Because this ability puts too much of a burden on my sword, so she needs to rest for a while." This time, everyone was speechless. Gu Qingshan was a sword cultivator, and everyone had seen those sword spirits before, so they understood that Gu Qingshan must have a reason for doing this. Perhaps the sword spirit couldn't handle it anymore? Everyone speculated. But since Gu Qingshan didn't say why, they didn't ask. After all, only they themselves knew the secrets of their weapons and abilities. If he didn't say anything, he must have his reasons. At this point, Gu Qingshan continued, "Furthermore, I suspect that even if Xianya's child was killed, it wouldn't cause any harm to the god of life. The god of life wouldn't sit idly by and watch anything threaten her life. I'm guessing that when she was turned into a card, she had already escaped the restriction of this oath, Boss asked. You mean, she's no longer bound by the old deity's covenant? Perhaps she's still bound a bit, but her life and death are no longer an issue, Gu Qingshan replied. How do you know that? This deity's fear of death runs deep into her bones. She hasn't left calming soul country for so many years. How could she allow herself to die because of someone else's death? That makes sense, Boss nodded. Everyone fell silent again. If even this method doesn't work, what should we do next? Gu Qingshan took off the 4 rings on her finger and gave them to Xianya. The monster is busy repairing the world, so it won't pay attention to normal demis for now. Use the power of the rings to mobilize all of the demis. Xianya couldn't help but ask, are we going to relocate them? Gu Qingshan nodded, then turned to Lola. The monster won't be able to sense us, but we still need to ensure Xianya's safety. Take a few mirror worlds and secretly distribute them with Xianya to the various cities. Have all the demis prepared to enter the mirror worlds so that we can take them away. No problem, Lola replied. Fei Li, Ying Hao, the 2 of you will go together, Gu Qingshan said. Understood, the 2 of them replied. Boss, use a reverse summoning technique on them so that they can be teleported back at any time. Got it, everything had been prepared. Gu Qingshan once again reminded Xianya. Time is of the essence, don't try to convince anyone. Show them the final bloodline of the royal family and the power of the rings. That would be the most efficient, understood, but when can we let everyone enter the mirror worlds? Not now, wait for my news, Gu Qingshan replied. Got it, Xianya, Lola, Zhang Yongho, and Yi Feili then left to gather the demis. Only Gu Qingshan and Boss were left on the lone peak. You have something to ask me? Boss asked. That's right, as the Abyssal King, your knowledge far surpasses ours. I want to know if you have any way to deal with that monster, Gu Qingshan replied. Boss shook his head. Something that couldn't be done when the deities were still around is even more impossible now, Boss. Who do you think will win between the Soul Shrieker and the God of Life? Gu Qingshan asked. Boss resolutely replied. I know very little about the God of Life, so I'm not sure who will win, but this battle will go on for a very long time. Just like how the Soul Shrieker fought against the Demon King Corpse in the 900 million world layers, Gu Qingshan silently nodded. At the time, the Soul Shrieker fought against the corpse summoned by the Demon King Order. For a very long time before a victor was decided. That was a crucial victory that decided the Soul Shrieker's invincible existence within the 900 million world layers. Boss sighed, his expression turning solemn and solemn. In terms of individual strength, the Soul Shrieker is far inferior to the God of Life, but it is the only true deity of the chaos, and has the support of the entire era of the chaos, so it should be able to last for a very long time, Boss continued. I have a feeling that the God of Life is still a bit stronger than the Soul Shrieker. Gu Qingshan agreed. Your feeling is very important, after all. You were once a combatant who stood at the peak of the world, so it shouldn't be wrong. If that's the case, no one can win against the God of Life. It's so powerful. Does it have any weaknesses? Gu Qingshan stood on top of the mountain without moving for a very long time, just like a statue. Time quickly passed. Xianya's group had returned. All the mirror worlds had been secretly distributed to the demis. The 4 rings had returned to Gu Qingshan's hand. As soon as he gave the order, the demis would enter the mirror worlds to take refuge. Gu Qingshan's gaze passed through everyone's faces. To be frank, I don't like to gamble. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. But this time's events had far surpassed my expectations. Against the 2 deities, I have no confidence at all, so I can only come up with a certain conclusion. What conclusion? Lola asked. Gu Qingshan replied. The God of Life turned herself into a monster, then into a card, hiding in this world without ever leaving. I assume that she's afraid of something. She is a unique amalgamation of a deity and a monster, and the Soul Shrieker is also a deity. We need to think of a way to make them fight each other. In fact, we've been trying to guide this entire time. Of course, I've never seen a battle between deities before, so I don't know what the outcome would be, which means we only have one last option left, to gamble." He spread the 4 rings on his palm. Everyone stared closely at the rings. Gu Qingshan drew the earth sword. Everyone held their breath. Gu Qingshan was about to destroy the 4 rings and allow Calming Soul Country to reappear within the space vortex. The Soul Shrieker would directly clash against the God of Life. No one could guarantee what would happen between the 2 deities. "Wait a minute." Lola walked forward, put her hand through her hair, and undid it. Her playful ponytail was undone, turning into long hair that draped over her shoulders, accentuating Lola's alluring appearance to the point where she no longer looked like a little girl. "Actually, I still have an occultism artifact with me. This is an occultism artifact passed down through the generations of the Bramble Bird clan, Twine of Cloud Atlas." Lola tied the purple hairband around Gu Qingshan's wrist and whispered, "Its effect is a unique type of luck, Gu Qingshan. You can no longer see anything right now and can only rely on your inner sight to observe everything, but I still need to make it clear to you, remember, the only thing you can't do while wearing it is to turn around and look. As soon as you turn around, luck will turn into misfortune." Gu Qingshan seriously listened, then froze. "Luck, misfortune, right? How did I forget? I am the Earth Deity. I possess the truest form of luck." Chapter 11-12. A sword slashed through the void of space. 4 rings slowly rotated in the air, and struck the sharp blade of the sword one by one. Like fragile bubbles, the 4 rings burst one after another, and were completely devoured by the sword radiance on the longsword. The Ring of the Sovereign and Ring of the Guardian had now completely disappeared, leaving only a single name in the history of the Demis. A moment of silence. An invisible force began to spread from the void of space, and swept across the entire world. The old god's oath had been broken. Calming Soul Country would soon reappear in the 900 million world layers. No. The God of Life's desperate and furious scream resounded across the entire world. But it was useless, as this was already unavoidable. Within the dark space vortex, a gigantic entity was stretching its body. 6 arms, 2 faces, a body that was several dozen stories tall, surrounded by a layer of solemn gray flames. The Soul Shrieker. It had been waiting for its prey for a very long time. Just now, it finally noticed the strange and faint trembling in the void of space. What exactly is it? It slowly turned towards Calming Soul Country. "Hiding there," the Soul Shrieker muttered in a low voice, then lightly leapt up and flew towards Calming Soul Country. At the same time, Gu Qingshan put the earth sword away and focused his thoughts. A flash of light manifested from his body and lightly leapt onto his palm, forming the pattern of a gold and silver coin. This was the coin of the earth, the symbol of the 4 saint pillars. At the same time, lines of glowing text appeared on the war god Ui Frowny Face, Master of the Earth Saint Pillar. "Please choose the power you wish to activate. Chosen power. True luck, absolute prohibition, protection." Gu Qingshan skimmed through them and silently muttered in his mind, "Activate true luck." A new line of glowing text appeared on the war god Ui Frowny Face. "You've chosen true luck. This ability has been activated. Duration: 12 hours. After this ability ends, you must wait for 30 days before you can use the power of the Earth Saint Pillar again." All the lines of glowing text retracted and disappeared in front of Gu Qingshan's eyes. As Gu Qingshan turned to everyone and was about to speak, another line of glowing text appeared in the void of space. Frowny Face. "Attention, you've obtained the occult treasure. Twine of Cloud Atlas, you have obtained the lost identity, the Awakener of the Dusty World. Due to this identity, you will soon be sheltered by the dusty world that was destroyed in the Age of Immemorial. You have been bestowed with the mystic-type power, protection of the mysteries of the past. Please pay special attention. You have both true luck and special luck at the same time, combining the two to form the Fate Divine skill. Decisive words of fate, rare, unique, undetectable, unchangeable. This divine skill can only be used 3 times. After using it 3 times, your true luck will be exhausted. You can only use it again after 30 days. Gu Qingshan's heart was beating wildly. There has never been a fate-type divine skill in this world. Never. Gu Qingshan hurriedly asked. War God Ui, how do I use the words of determined destiny ability? Ding. The War God Ui replied. This is an extremely rare divine skill. If you want to know its content, you need to give me 500, no, 1,000 soul points. Gu Qingshan. The War God Ui's tone changed so quickly that Gu Qingshan felt a bit uncomfortable. But it couldn't be helped, as the two deities were about to clash. He had to understand this ability first. Here, tell me, Gu Qingshan said. His soul points were deducted by 1,000. The War God Ui began to explain, frowny face. The so-called words of determined destiny is a single word you say that will determine the true development of a certain matter. For example, if you say this words of determined destiny to a certain entity, not only will you be able to determine that entity's fate, you will also be able to cause it to move in the direction you say. This is an extremely great power, and you have the authority to use it 3 times. Keep in mind, you must use this power in conjunction with the actual state of the matter. You cannot say anything that is completely unachievable, as that would go against the fundamental laws of fate and the world. The consequences would be severe. Gu Qingshan asked. Can you give me an example? The War God Ui replied. For example, if you say that the God of Life will immediately pledge her allegiance to you, due to the difference in strength between the two of you, as well as your relationship with her, this does not conform to the fundamental laws of fate and cannot be accomplished. The power of fate will retaliate against you because of this. Is there anything else you can tell me? Gu Qingshan asked. One final point, the closer you are to your target, the more powerful the power of luck. Understood, Gu Qingshan replied. He suddenly looked up at the sky. Everyone else also did the same and looked up. Boom! An intense sound of impact resounded from deep within the sky. A fierce male voice resounded from afar. You're hiding here? Final carrier of order, I have finally caught you. This was the male voice of the Soul Shrieker. On the ground, the God of Life waved her countless black tentacles and flew into the sky. Without waiting for Gu Qingshan's order, Lola had already opened her umbrella. Everyone vanished into the void of space. Zhang Yongho's voice suddenly resounded. Are you confident in this gamble? Gu Qingshan's lips curled up a bit and replied. Your opening hand is quite good, I can follow up. Come, let's go. The void of space shifted, as if something had left, but nothing had happened. In the sky, the half-transparent golden divine runes were shattered. Boom! The world barrier had become extremely fragile, but it hadn't completely faded away. The Soul Shrieker couldn't wait any longer and had already begun its relentless attack. Stop! The God of Life's stern shout resounded across the world. Boom, boom, boom! The Soul Shrieker ignored her. Don't be ridiculous after waiting for so long, just to kill the final order. How could it give up now? All the barriers were destroyed by the Soul Shrieker. The Soul Shrieker landed. It entered this world, landed in front of the God of Life, and observed her. The two gigantic monsters finally met at this moment. At this point, Gu Qingshan's group had already moved closer. At a distance of 30 feet from the two deities, Lola was a bit hesitant. Gu Qingshan sent her voice. Don't be afraid, just get a bit closer. Hearing that, Lola gritted her teeth and moved another 10 feet closer. Continue, Gu Qingshan said. Lola continued. Everyone moved forward at the same time. All the way until the umbrella was right next to the God of Life's shoulder. If anyone could see them, they would notice that they were practically right next to the God of Life's ear. Gu Qingshan turned to the two deities. They were facing off, trying to sense each other's strength from the power fluctuations they gave off. What do we do now, Gu Qingshan? I'm scared to stay here, Lola said with a sobbing tone. Give me 1 minute, Gu Qingshan said. Before the two deities spoke, He lightly willed it to activate words of determined destiny for the first time. He then whispered into the god of life's ear, "You know the most important point. It came to this world for that order. It cannot be allowed to return alive." After saying that, Gu Shan sent her voice to Lola, "We're leaving." Lola felt like she had been granted amnesty, held the umbrella, and quickly led everyone away. Sure enough, the god of life spoke up. "You intruded into my world in order to obtain an order?" The soul shrieker froze, then grinned. "That's right, I want to kill the wielder of that order, completely kill him. And the order he carries will never escape from my grasp." The god of life froze. "There's no doubt about it. This guy really did come for the Order O card that I obtained. But this card had already been modified. This is something that belongs to me." The god of fate's eyes turned a bit, then asked, "If I can help you fulfill your wish, how many soul artifacts will you give me?" "Soul artifacts? You want soul artifacts?" "Indeed, I need soul artifacts." The soul shrieker displayed a mocking smirk, spread its 6 arms, and scoffed. "The 900 million world layers will soon fall into my hands, as long as you hand over that wielder of order. I'll give you as many soul artifacts as you want." The god of life looked at its contemptuous expression and slowly lowered her gaze. "Is that so? You have the 900 million world layers, countless soul artifacts," she muttered. At the very next moment, everyone only saw a blur in front of their eyes. Several dozen black tentacles had already coiled around the soul shrieker's limbs. The soul shrieker didn't move and simply stared at her, trying to determine her true intentions. It shouted in a low voice, "You want to protect that wielder of order?" The god of life abruptly laughed maniacally. "Since you've come, then die here." "Why?" the soul shrieker asked. The god of life looked at it with a cruel gaze. "Because as long as I kill you, both that order and all of your soul artifacts will belong to me." The black tentacles that filled the entire world soared into the sky and enveloped the soul shrieker, forming a giant, tightly sealed black sphere. All of a sudden, an enraged voice that sounded like a sigh resounded from inside the black sphere. "The souls of all living beings in this world are my food, yet you dare to show no respect to a deity like me. Your soul shall become my food." Several hundred feet away from them, Gu Shan stood in the void of space, silently watching this. "Not holding back at all, seems like we'll have to retreat a bit further," he muttered. Hearing that, Lola held her flower umbrella and quickly retreated with everyone else. A few moments later, the battle between two deities had officially begun. Chapter 11-13. The earth continued to collapse, countless rocks, rivers, houses, and streets scattered into the space vortex, disappearing without a trace. The wind gradually became more violent, blowing away everything in this world. Gu Shan stared at the collapsing world, then at the two deities fighting in the sky. This place had already left the area where the two deities were fighting, so it was safe for now. The soul shrieker continued to unleash its soul-sucking screech, showing no signs of stopping. The god of life used her endless black tentacles to block in front of herself, attempting to stop the soul shrieker's attack. Her black tentacles were turning into countless souls that were sucked into the soul shrieker's mouth. At this point, the soul shrieker was suppressing the god of life. It seems the god of life no longer had the time to care about calming Soul Country. This place had become the battlefield of the two deities, and their battle was about to become even more intense. A single world couldn't possibly endure the intensity of their battle. In other words, calming Soul Country was about to be destroyed. Gu Shan immediately said, "A good chance, Xianye. Order all the demis gathered in the royal capital to hide in the mirror worlds." "Understood," Xianye replied. "Lola, keep the umbrella open, we need to use this time to collect all of the mirror worlds." "Got it?" Xianye activated fearless teleportation. Very quickly, the group temporarily left the battlefield of the two deities and warped away. At another location, the Fog Isle world of the Dead Sea. The entrance of the Holy Church of Fate. Have you decided? Ning Yuechan asked. Yes, Su Cher replied. She tossed the 2 items to her, then turned around and headed into the Holy Church. Ning Yuechan received them and found that they were indeed the card and the corresponding coin. She carefully put them away, then asked again. Hey, don't you like Gu Qingshan a lot? Why aren't you going to see him anymore? Su Cher replied without turning around. I'm not going to see him. Ning Yuechan tried asking, so you've given up? That's none of your business. Su Cher's figure disappeared into the depths of the Holy Church. Ning Yuechan shook her head and leaped into the sky, leaving this world. Su Cher stood in a dark corner of the shrine. She only let out a long sigh when she sensed that the other party had really left. A few temple knights hurried over. Your Excellency Su Cher, the temple master has ordered you to lead the troops to face the other shrines. All right, I'll go right away, Su Cher said. The Templars bowed respectfully and retreated. Su Cher shook her head and laughed at herself. If he lost Gu Qingshan, what did all these wars, conflicts, and doomsday have to do with him? She tore off the robe that symbolized her identity as a holy bishop and threw it on the ground. Everything was meaningless. Su Cher opened a scroll and tore it to shreds. The next moment, the light emitted from the scroll enveloped her, and she disappeared from this world in an instant. Homeworld. Su Cher appeared. She found herself floating in the sky. Below them was the capital of the Federation. It was ablaze with lights. Night had fallen. The hollow brain in her bag almost instantly began to vibrate. Su Cher ignored it and simply stared at the city's night view. Anna once said that Gu Qingshan once caused all the lights of the capital to light up in an instant. How unfortunate. I haven't spent enough time with him. Last time in Tree's collection world, I stupidly pushed him away. Su Cher's gaze fell onto a certain location in the capital. Rainbow Bar. I once met Gu Qingshan here. Su Cher's body moved a bit and couldn't help but descend. She walked into the bar, ordered a cocktail, and silently watched as the bartender prepared it and brought it to her. Thank you. Su Cher raised the glass and took a sip. She then scowled. The alcohol was extremely spicy. No matter how much fruit or ice was used, nothing could disguise this taste. This was a type of alcohol that Gu Qingshan liked to drink. Why would he like such a disgusting drink? Anna seems to like alcohol as well. It's said that people who like to drink alcohol often have something they can't overcome in their hearts. Anna's father is no longer here, her country was destroyed, it was only restored after a long time, but everything was in ruins. She must have gone through a lot of pain and suffering. Gu Qingshan might also have a painful past that she can't explain. But I don't know. So what if I know? I can't even win against Ning Yuechan. The first time they met, she saved me with a single slash. Whether it's her looks, talents, or even her fighting prowess, I can't even catch up to her. In comparison, I've already worked very hard. But when I stand in front of Ning Yuechan, I'm still an ugly duckling. What do I have to compete with her? Su Cher wiped her tears. She drank the wine in one gulp and let the fire burn in her chest. Ning Yuechan, she couldn't help but mutter. If I'm the strongest, I'll beat Ning Yuechan and the other women away. Su Cher begrudgingly thought. The hollow brain in her bag kept vibrating. Su Cher was annoyed, so she put her hand into her bag and turned off her hollow brain. One breath's worth of time later. Everyone's hollow brain in the bar started vibrating. Everyone turned on their hollow brains in surprise. A dignified female voice came out at the same time. Frowny face, in accordance with the world's security laws, your hollow brain has been requisitioned, your citizen ID has been recognized by the World Alliance government, please leave the bar and receive your new hollow brain, special reminder. This is the highest order, please carry it out immediately. Everyone stopped drinking, stopped talking, put down their hollow brains, and rushed out of the bar. Don't be ridiculous, this is the highest order from the World Alliance government. This is an extremely rare occurrence, but it always represents the highest authority of the world. No one dared to disobey this order. A few moments later, the entire bar was empty. Only Sue Cher was left. Outside the bar, hundreds and thousands of mobile mechs surrounded the street, not allowing anyone to enter the area. The entire capital was under martial law. Interstellar airships began to take off, circling above the Federation's capital. Of course, none of this escaped Sue Cher's observation. She lazily opened her eyes, twirling the glass in her hand. Who would be so blind as to try and mess with me at a time like this? I just want some peace and quiet. Is that not enough? Sue Cher's slender fingers exerted a bit of force. All the glasses in the bar floated up, melted into a transparent liquid, and disappeared into the void of space. At this time, all the holobrains spoke at the same time. Frowny-face Federation aristocrat, the only 9 lords holder, Your Excellency Sue Cher, I am impartial goddess. The only 9 lords holder? What does that mean? Sue Cher coldly asked. The 9 lords have become a thing of the past. This was decided by Gu Qing Shan's will, impartial goddess replied. Sue Cher's anger dissipated and hurriedly asked, All right, I understand. Has Gu Qing Shan returned? I'm sorry, but he hasn't yet. Sue Cher, I have a more important matter to discuss with you. The Samsara world has fused into one, currently facing the danger of the abyss's backflow. There is a certain chance of it being destroyed. According to the Guardian's will, you are the only successor to the 9 Lords of Starlight. Due to the current unstable situation, I must transfer the 9 Lords' inheritance to you. The door of the bar opened. A miniature mech carried a box in front of Sue Cher. Impartial goddess voice came again. Frowny face, the 9 lords have become history, and the 9 starlight cloaks with unique powers have all been taken by me as the 9 lords' most precious inheritance. From now on, they are yours. The box opened. The 9 starlight cloaks silently laid inside the box. Sue Cher was stunned. That can't be right. How could these cloaks be considered the most precious inheritance? What exactly is going on? Sue Cher reached her hand out and lightly stroked one of the starlight cloaks. These are the 9 lords' aristocratic heirlooms. Only the head of each lord has the right to wear them. Although they have some miraculous effects, like being untainted by even a speck of dust, being able to resist elemental energy, and prolonging one's lifespan, they aren't that great. The effects can only be considered passable. For the 9 lords, the cloaks are precious because of the authority they represent. It was for the sake of these cloaks that my parents broke up with me. For these laughable things, Sue Cher let her tears flow down her cheeks, holding the cloak tightly with one hand, trying her best to calm down the sorrow in her heart. What she didn't know was, as soon as her hand touched the inky black cloak, the cloak started to ripple. The ripple continued to expand, enveloping all the dim stars within. Suddenly, the 9 cloaks automatically floated up, joined together, and spread out in the void of space. All of the darkness was dispelled, and the densely packed stars revealed themselves one after another. A vast and majestic star chart appeared in front of Sue Cher. At the same time, a cold and emotionless voice came from the star chart. Frowny face detected Starlight Empire's bloodline. Ever since the Starlight Empire's secret destruction, this is the first time an Empire aristocrat with the lowest standard of fighting strength has been detected. A Starlight secret. The Dusty World's secret passage has been revealed to you. This is the only way to obtain the great occultism power. _M. Chapter 11:14. The God of Life's tentacles spread all over the sky like a dark tide. The dark tide surged, rolled, and created towering waves that seemed to want to drown everything in its path. However, the dark tide had met its nemesis. The Soul Shrieker's sharp screech caused the black tentacles to melt into countless despairing souls. These souls had no choice but to be sucked into the Soul Shrieker's mouth and turned into its food. One by one, the black tentacles disappeared. As soon as the battle began, the God of Life was already at a disadvantage, which made her even angrier. A mere soul-devouring minor character dares to act so presumptuously in front of me? Several thousand black tentacles returned to her and turned into rows of demis. Over 100 million years, these souls had once grasped the same mystic-type divine skill, and under the God of Life's control, they all unleashed their power. Divine skill, a soul-cleaving slash. A semi-transparent blade of light manifested in each of the soulless hands. "Enough, give it to me!" the God of Life angrily declared. All the blades of light flew out from the soul's hands and fell into the God of Life's hand, turning into a blinding sprite of light, while the souls who had their divine skill turned back into writhing black tentacles. The God of Life grabbed that sprite of light and swung it towards the soul shrieker. Shah, 100,000 divine skill, demonic soul-slaying blade. A razor-thin ray of light as thin as a cicada's wing flew from the sky to the ground, continuing forward. Wherever the ray of light passed, a bottomless crack appeared on the ground. Clatter, clatter. The crack quickly spread across the ground like a slithering snake. Very quickly, the entire world was covered in cracks. Boom! The ground was completely cut into countless pieces. Aside from the ground, the void of space itself was also cut apart. The blue sky was being split in two, while the deep space vortex began to manifest itself in this world. The soul shrieker's high-pitched screech was abruptly cut off. The ray of light pierced through its body, went all the way to the edge of this world, followed the space vortex, and disappeared without a trace. The soul shrieker was cut in half. But this didn't take its life. A combination divine skill. The other half of its body spoke with a male voice. A soul technique that's too ancient, I'm not interested at all. The other half of the body spoke with a female voice. Countless souls flew out from the two halves of the body and turned into nothingness amidst their wails. In a short moment, millions of souls died. Meanwhile, the soul shrieker's body was glued back together and returned to its original form. Ah! The power of chaos. Bless me, destroy the enemies of the era with me. The soul shrieker roared in rage. A vast pillar of light descended from the endless void and descended upon the soul shrieker's body. Boom! Radiance and wind whistled, flickering incessantly on its body. The soul shrieker breathed heavily, then declared with a sacred and dignified tone, "Those who hinder me from destroying order must die." Its 6 arms were coiled on both sides of its body, turning into a pair of wings covered in sharp claws. Its body wriggled crazily, and turned into a 2-headed giant beast filled with a gloomy aura. This was a mythical creature of chaos that was born during the later stages of the era of chaos. Devourer of time and future. Roar! The giant beast uttered an earth-shattering roar, flapped its wings, and leapt towards the God of Life like a bolt of lightning. It crashed into her. In the blink of an eye, the giant beast flapped its wings and tore the God of Life's body to shreds. It opened its mouth and abruptly spat out a mouthful of gray flames towards the God of Life's remains. In an instant, the God of Life's body was completely incinerated. The giant beast didn't stop there and opened its mouth again to spit out another mouthful of gray flames towards the countless black tentacles in the sky. As soon as the gray flames touched the tentacles, all of them were engulfed in the blink of an eye. Following the desperate screams of countless souls, all of the tentacles were set ablaze, giving off a series of crackling noises. As the black tentacles that weren't completely incinerated fell to the ground, the gray flames instantly spread. The ground began to burn. No, it should be said that the entire calming soul country was engulfed in gray flames. Everything in the world was reduced to ash. The giant beast hovered in the sky, spread its wings, and roared towards the sky. For those who oppose chaos will only end up like this, no one will be spared. Following its roar, the light descending from above became even more intense. The world was burning beneath its feet, the remains of the old deities were reduced to ashes. At this moment, it was an invincible true deity of the void. A few thousand meters away from the battle between the two deities, As soon as Gu Qingshan's group took all the demis into the mirror world, they saw this as soon as they turned around. Under the flower umbrella, Lola muttered in a daze, "So this is a battle between deities? Indeed, it's already over." Zhang Yongho sighed. Everyone went silent. In just a few rounds, heaven and earth had already been sliced apart and burned to ashes. This was the power of legends. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then said, "Boss, I remember you saying that the battle between deities wouldn't end so quickly." "That's right," Boss replied. "Unless the difference in power is too great, it definitely wouldn't end in a single day. Just keep watching." Everyone was surprised. Keep watching? Didn't the Soul Shrieker win? Boss slowly smiled and muttered, "After all, it's a new deity, only now did I realize." Everyone followed his gaze, only to see that everything on the ground that had been sliced apart and burned to ashes had been completely destroyed. Even the god of life's black tentacle had been burnt to ashes. Only the final black tentacle remained. The gray flames continued to burn on the tentacle, but this black tentacle wasn't damaged at all. The Soul Shrieker had also noticed this tentacle. It retracted all of the light on its body, held it in its mouth, and turned it into burning gray flames. Die! The Soul Shrieker spat out the gray flames. The gray flames silently flew forward, burning through the void of space in its path, and forming a long trail of nothingness behind it. Boom! The gray flames struck the black tentacle. The ground around the tentacle was instantly destroyed. The gray flames followed the tentacle and continued to burn downwards. Until the Soul Shrieker waited in midair, silently watching the gray flames burn through the ground. All of a sudden, it seemed to have noticed something and spread its fleshy wings covered in sharp claws, about to take flight. A voice full of hatred resounded from deep underground, "Trying to run." A giant black hand reached out from deep underground, caught up to the Soul Shrieker who was trying to flee, and caught it. The Soul Shrieker was already a gigantic monster, but this hand was even larger than its body. Rumble! The ground broke apart, turning into ash that scattered into the space vortex. The master of the giant black hand, the monster hiding deep underground, had finally revealed itself to everyone. At first glance, this monster appeared to be a black snake that was as large as the world itself. But it wasn't a black snake, because it had a pair of gigantic human arms, as well as a hard shell that gave off a deep purple glow on its head. No eyes, no face. At the very end of its tail was the black tentacle that the gray flames couldn't burn. The black tentacle wriggled and turned into an old woman. The old woman glared at the Soul Shrieker and angrily spoke, "Even when the world was destroyed, I still couldn't awaken my true body. A mere new deity like you dares to force my true body to awaken?" While she spoke, the giant black hand slowly tightened. Arg! The Soul Shrieker howled in pain. It exerted all of its power, turned into gray flames, and broke free from the black hand's restraints. The gray flames retreated and reformed into the Soul Shrieker. So what if it managed to escape? The Soul Shrieker observed the other party in shock. Too powerful. Just by looking at the other party, it was clear just how terrifyingly powerful she was. This monster had only just revealed its true body, so there was no telling how many abilities it still had yet to use. The Soul Shrieker struggled to speak. "So, you aren't a deity, a deity?" the old woman mocked. She turned her gaze towards her own gigantic body and madly chuckled. "Within the boundless space vortex, what are deities? They tried everything they could in the past, but they couldn't kill this body." The Soul Shrieker roared and shouted, "Damn it! Where did you come from?" Within the boundless void, the light of chaos descended upon its body. The old woman narrowed her eyes, observed the pillar of light, and muttered, "A chaos," while they were facing off against each other. From afar, Gu Qingshan sensed this and muttered in a low voice, "Not good, this monster is too powerful. This isn't the result we want." Boss asked, "What kind of result do you want?" Gu Qingshan replied, "I want the Water God tablet." At the very least, I want the stronger enemy to die and the weaker enemy to live. Boss shook his head. That monster, not even the deities. I know, not even the deities could kill it, Gu Qingshan told Lola. Come, let's go. Ah, you want to go? Lola replied and stood still. As she looked at the monster's body, her entire body began to tremble. This couldn't be helped. Other than Boss, even Gu Qingshan was trembling. A top-tier mythical chaos monster. A fusion between a deity and a void monster. Such a terrifying entity, a single glance at it was enough to erase the minds of many people. Gu Qingshan controlled her trembling body and spoke with a gentle voice. Lola, listen, I'm also trembling, but you and I both know that this is our only chance. Lola's tears flowed down. Gu Qingshan shook the headband in her hand and said, Don't worry, I won't die. Even if I die, I guarantee that you'll be the last one to die. While Lola was still afraid, she couldn't help but chuckle as she heard that. She closed her eyes. I'm already an adult, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. How terrifying, I'm not afraid. She skillfully opened her little satchel and took out treasures one after another, fully equipping herself. Finally, her body stopped trembling. She once again took out several treasures and distributed them to everyone. These are all treasures that can boost your fighting spirit and courage. All of you should wear some, otherwise you'll be too scared to let go of the flower umbrella, which would be the end of everything. Everyone quickly put on their hats, gloves, shoulder pads, masks, shoes, pants, skirts, etc. After doing all that, the flower umbrella began to move. Closer and closer, until everyone entered the battlefield. This time, they silently hovered above the Soul Shrieker's shoulder. With a single thought, Gu Qingshan gathered the almost perceptible amount of luck around her body. Fate, divine skill, words of determined destiny. This was the second time she had used this divine skill. Its limit was that she could only say one sentence at a time. Gu Qingshan silently reminded herself and took a deep breath. He then whispered into the Soul Shrieker's ear. This monster just said that it didn't awaken its true body even when the world was destroyed, so it must be because something huge would happen if its true body were to be awakened, so you must stall it until that thing that it fears will occur. He finished his sentence in one breath and finished his sentence. Not only was this sentence meant for the Soul Shrieker to hear, it also determined a certain fate. Go! Gu Qingshan shouted in a low voice. The flower umbrella flashed and hurriedly escaped from the Soul Shrieker's vicinity. At this point, the old lady spoke up. Scram, deity of the Chaos faction, you are so weak and insignificant, do not provoke me again, or I will devour both your body and your soul. The Soul Shrieker's expression twitched. Who would let the other party go when they had overwhelming strength? There's definitely something wrong with it. What kind of situation is it afraid of? The Soul Shrieker shouted. I am the one and only deity of chaos within the 900 million world layers. Come, I would like to see for myself what kind of power and entity that even the old gods couldn't win against possesses. Boom! The boundless light of chaos once again descended upon its body. Chapter 11:15. Calming Soul Country had completely collapsed, reduced to dust within the space vortex. This world that was protected by the deity Oath no longer existed. On the battlefield of the two deities, the god of life forcefully suppressed her killing intent and declared, Puny new deity, I shall give you one last chance, scram. She clasped her hands together and quickly chanted an incantation. Instantly, a blinding purple light erupted from her hands, illuminating the darkness of the space vortex as if it was daytime. Void summoning, divine armament of immemorial, giver of pain of flesh and soul. In front of her, the Soul Shrieker cautiously observed the purple light and assumed a defensive stance. You want me to scram? I think you're running away from something. Unless you hand over the carrier of order. I will keep you busy and make it impossible for you to escape," the Soul Shrieker threatened. "Indeed, the other party is stronger than I am. If I want to obtain order from her, the only thing I can do is to take a gamble and see if she will compromise in the end." The God of Life's body trembled. She immediately understood what she was trying to do. She discovered my secret. Damn it, if I'm being held back by a deity, there will be real problems. The old lady was on the verge of going insane and spitefully declared, "I gave you face but you don't want it, then die." She grabbed the purple light and pulled it with all her might. The purple light turned into a flickering whip of light. The old lady swung the whip of light. Shah! It struck the Soul Shrieker's body. The Soul Shrieker spat up some blood and couldn't help but retreat. The power of this attack far exceeded its expectations. The Soul Shrieker looked down to find a deep gash on its body that was bleeding profusely. Boundless pain. His body and soul had suffered double damage. This was an extreme pain that no living being could endure. The slightest contact would cause their soul to be completely destroyed. Even deities were afraid of this kind of pain. The Soul Shrieker endured the pain and roared, "The power is indeed considerable, but now it's my turn, Shah!" Another purple light flashed and struck its body, causing its flesh and blood to scatter, unable to even say a single word. It couldn't help but look up. A purple whip of light had also appeared in the God of Life's other hand. The God of Life sneered. "Ignorant new god, your despair has only just begun. This isn't a weapon from the 900 million world layers, nor is it an abyssal saint weapon." The Soul Shrieker looked at the whip and muttered. The God of Life replied, "Of course your knowledge is too shallow, but I don't think I'll say much to you right now. I want your life." The purple light abruptly expanded, manifesting into thousands of pillars of light that shot towards the Soul Shrieker's head. This pain was so excruciating that even though the Soul Shrieker wanted to endure it, both its body and soul couldn't help but retreat. The old woman laughed maniacally. "It's too late for you to escape now. My whip has already planted a seed of pain in your soul. Now, no matter where you hide, even if we are separated by thousands of worlds, you won't be able to escape my attack." After saying that, he brandished the two long purple whips and lashed at the void. He was clearly attacking the void of space, but two deep gashes appeared on the Soul Shrieker's body. The Soul Shrieker's body trembled and uttered a painful howl. This was a pain that almost no existence could endure. In an instant, tens of thousands of souls died in its body. "How does it feel, pitiful deity?" The old woman smirked. The Soul Shrieker stared closely at her and breathed heavily. "Damn it, if it weren't for my weapon, if the seven-colored spear was still in my hand, I could have endured the pain and rushed forward to kill her. Even if I couldn't kill her, I would have at least caused her to panic, unable to wield the purple whips again. Unfortunately, I fell into slumber several 10,000 years ago. The spear was tampered with and disappeared without a trace. Damn it!" While the Soul Shrieker was thinking that, it suddenly sensed something and looked up, only to see something madly surging within the boundless void above. At the same time, Lola had already retreated far away with her flower umbrella in hand. "Was that a fate-type power just now?" Boss asked in a low voice. Gu Qingshan explained, "That's right, the thing that Lola gave me, combined with a certain ability of mine, created an unimaginable fate-type ability." Boss spoke with a serious tone. "We need to be careful. As soon as you said those words just now, I felt a sense of fear." Gu Qingshan froze. When Boss was facing the two deities, he didn't even tremble a single bit. But now, he was honestly feeling fear. Gu Qingshan silently sensed her spirit sense and noticed it as well. "Indeed, I'm also feeling a sense of fear. As if something is about to happen," Gu Qingshan muttered in a low voice. In truth, the words of determined destiny just now had decided two things. Firstly, the Soul Shrieker would stay behind to fight against the God of Life. Secondly, what the God of Life feared would happen. Although the Soul Shrieker was a sly entity that could easily suspect the God of Life's actions, who could be certain about this? Could it be that it would notice the God of Life's problem? Gu Qingshan wouldn't allow any deviation. He specifically used the words of determined destiny to ensure that the course of events would proceed according to his plan. But as soon as he said those words, both boss and himself felt an inexplicable sense of fear. This isn't right, Yi Feili suddenly said. Hey everyone, I'm feeling an intense sense of unease. Zhang Yongho anxiously looked around and said. This feeling, as if death could devour us at any moment. Gu Qingshan and boss exchanged glances. If everyone could sense it, it meant that what was about to happen was extremely dangerous. Not good, Lola, we need to retreat a bit further, the further the better, Gu Qingshan said. Understood, Lola replied. The flower umbrella sped up and hid into the darkness of the void. On the battlefield, the old lady looked up at the void of space and exclaimed, Oh no! She no longer cared about the Soul Shrieker's survival, and turned to flee. The Soul Shrieker had waited so long for this moment, so how could it let the other party do as she wished? Not to mention, the other party had already planted a seed of pain in my body to avoid this calamity, so she could slowly torture me to death any time she wanted. Don't even think about running. The Soul Shrieker roared and charged forward. It crashed into the armored black snake's gigantic body, raised all 6 of its arms, and struck the other party's body with all its might. The old lady's body twisted madly, unable to escape. A second later, black coffins began to descend from above like a tsunami. The Soul Shrieker was surprised. Black coffins? These coffins don't seem to have any offensive capabilities at all. As soon as the old lady saw these black coffins, her expression changed. This time, she was truly panicking. The God of Life's body trembled, tossed the Soul Shrieker away, and screamed in a fearful tone, Run! Otherwise, we'll all die here. The Soul Shrieker had waited so long for this moment to turn the tables, so why would it listen to her? This was the last chance to destroy Order. Once the other party escapes and I can't win against her, Order will once again survive. If that happens, the era of chaos will never be complete. The Soul Shrieker angrily roared, Unless you hand over the carrier of Order, I will not let you escape. It charged forward without any hesitation and once again engaged the God of Life in close combat. The God of Life wasn't in the mood to fight, but every time she tried to escape, she would be stopped. At this point, countless black coffins silently descended, more and more, until they covered the entire void of space. The coffins surrounded the 2 deities. M. Chapter 11:16. Within the space vortex, black coffins continued to descend from the sky and surrounded the 2 deities. The old lady's hunched body shrunk down and turned into the tail of a giant black snake, no longer showing her figure. Around her, several black coffins had been opened. Corpses flew out from the coffins one after another. These corpses were all wearing tattered war armor, as if they had lived through countless years. From the power fluctuations they gave off, they were all demigods, their bodies still exuding the aura of when they were alive. They flew towards the 2 deities. The giant black snake madly unleashed purple light in a certain direction. All the corpses in its path were instantly wiped out. As the giant black snake was about to escape, it was stopped by the Soul Shrieker. You want to leave? Leave that carrier of Order behind. The Soul Shrieker roared, clasped its 6 arms together, and struck the giant snake's body. The giant black snake was struck so hard that it lost its final chance to escape. Seeing that, the Soul Shrieker also took that chance to unleash a cluster of gray flames to wipe out a large number of corpses. After the corpses were wiped out, their coffins closed up and returned to the sky. The Soul Shrieker loudly mocked, And here I thought you were afraid of something. Just a bunch of demigod corpses and you're already this scared. While it spoke, more and more coffins opened up. Countless corpses appeared. All of a sudden, a particularly large black coffin opened up. A giant walked out of the coffin. Looking at this giant, the soul shrieker abruptly went silent. This giant was giving off power fluctuations far stronger than itself. As soon as the giant appeared, another coffin opened up. A beautiful woman with half of her body missing flew out. Another deity. As if it would never stop, countless coffins continued to descend from the sky. Countless corpses walked out from the coffins one after another. Among them, there was a headless, majestic figure that was clad in a set of armor that seemed to have gone through the vicissitudes of life. Another deity. In just a few moments, 3 deity corpses had appeared. This time, even the soul shrieker was scared. Such a large number of deities and demigods wasn't something it could fight against alone. If more deity corpses were to appear, it didn't have time to think any further. The giant and the woman were already fighting against the god of life. The armored corpse slowly walked towards it. "Humph, you're courting death." The soul shrieker charged forward, exerting all of its power to exchange a punch with the iron-armored deity corpse. Boom! The void trembled. The soul shrieker retreated. The iron-armored god corpse's body only shook slightly, but it wasn't injured at all. The soul shrieker muttered in a low voice, "Damn it, he isn't any weaker than me, huh?" Just as it was thinking of a way to deal with this situation, it saw a large number of black coffins landing not far from it. The coffin lid was pushed open from the inside. Hundreds of corpses walked out. Most of these corpses were demigod-rank warriors, but there were still a dozen or so corpses that emitted god-rank energy ripples. More than a dozen deities. They walked in the direction of the 2 gods and said in unison, "Come, fall into eternal slumber with us." The soul shrieker's pupils dilated, and couldn't help but take a few steps back. Even if he was the only chaos god, facing so many gods alone would only leave him with one outcome: death. The soul shrieker couldn't help but look up into the space vortex, only to see the black coffins pouring down like a torrential downpour, as if they would never stop. All of a sudden, a thought appeared in the soul shrieker's mind. More deity corpses would surely appear. Demigods and deities had already appeared, so perhaps those legendary ones would also descend. What exactly is going on? The soul shrieker couldn't help but mutter to itself. At this point, it finally understood what the god of life was afraid of. But it was already too late. On the other side, Gu Qingshan's group silently watched this eerie scene unfold. "What do we do now?" Zhang Yongho asked. Even though he had retreated far enough and was protected by many treasures that Lola gave him, he was still sweating profusely. His body was trembling again. It couldn't be helped, this was an uncontrollable, primal and instinctive fear. "I suggest that we run away right now," Boss said with an anxious expression. "Do you know where these black coffins came from?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Some of them were deities and soldiers that died in the inner plane, but I don't even know where the majority of them came from," Boss replied. For the first time, Gu Qingshan heard a hint of trembling in Boss's voice. "Oh no. I didn't think it would turn out like this. It seems we need to change our strategy. And quickly," Gu Qingshan said. He looked at everyone and said, "Listen, this is our best chance. It's our turn." Everyone went silent. Our best chance? It's our turn? Everyone was about to go insane. The black coffins continued to descend. Even the 2 deities were struggling in the face of certain death. And you call this a chance? "Qingshan, what are you trying to do?" Lola anxiously asked. Gu Qingshan replied, "I've already tested it. Although these corpses are powerful and numerous, they only have the perception they had when they were alive, so they couldn't notice anything out of the ordinary." While he was talking, the gourd adorable had landed on top of one of the corpses and followed it towards the 2 deities. "You mean, they can't notice my shelter of infinite worlds?" Lola asked. "That's right." Gu Qingshan patted Zhang Yongho's shoulder. "Inghao, we need to split up, attack immediately, take that card and run." Zhang Yongho didn't know what to say. At this point, Xianya and the Demis had already entered the mirror world, leaving only Gu Qingshan, Boss, Zhang Yongho, Yi Feili, and Lola. Gu Qingshan quickly explained her plan in front of everyone. Everyone was assigned a task by him. At this point, the god of life's desperate scream resounded from the battlefield. "Aya, don't come any closer!" The old lady's voice carried an unprecedented sense of terror. Boom! The soul shrieker was sent flying by the two deity corpses with a resounding sound. "There's no time to lose, let's move," Gu Qingshan said. Everyone nodded and prepared to move. "Move my ass." Lola leapt forward and bit Gu Qingshan's shoulder. "Gu Qingshan, if I die later, I won't forgive you even if I become a ghost," the little girl begrudgingly declared. Zhang Yongho blankly stared at the battlefield and muttered, "I feel like a stray dog running into the center of a nuclear explosion," Yi Feili pondered. "In game terms, it's like you've just created a newbie character, only to see the game's final boss in the newbie village, then find out that your newbie mission is to kill it." Boss's mentality was a bit more normal and asked Gu Qingshan, "How sure are we?" "If we don't waste any time, 50%, Gu Qingshan replied. "That high? That's enough, that's right, let's begin." As soon as Gu Qingshan said so, she reached her hand forward. An umbrella appeared in her hand. Unlike Lola's flower umbrella, he was holding a large black umbrella in his hand. Shelter of Infinite Worlds. This was his Shelter of Infinite Worlds. "I remember you borrowed the Soul Shrieker's holy retribution, so can you keep borrowing other people's abilities?" Boss asked with interest. "No, this ability requires rest, otherwise there will be problems," Gu Qingshan replied. M. Chapter 11-17. Gu Qingshan held the black umbrella and flew towards the god of life together with Boss, while Lola held the flower umbrella and brought Zhang Yongho and Yi Feili towards the Soul Shrieker. Both sides used their fastest speed to quickly enter the battlefield and arrived next to the two deities. The deity corpses completely ignored their existence. Gu Qingshan had the gourd adorable follow Lola and only relaxed after a while. At this point, more and more deity corpses were emerging from the black coffins. The two deities were being beaten to a pulp, barely able to defend themselves. "Begin," Gu Qingshan sent her voice. Zhang Yongho and Yi Feili both let go of the flower umbrella. The two of them appeared in front of the Soul Shrieker. At this point, the Soul Shrieker had just used all of its power to repel the deity corpses surrounding it. "Peerless deity, we have come to save you," Zhang Yongho shouted. "My deity! I gave up everything to come in front of you, offering my life and everything I have to pledge my loyalty to you," Yi Feili declared. The Soul Shrieker looked at them. It could sense the power of chaos from them. Indeed, these were two carriers of chaos, subjects of its own faction. They seemed to have been together with the carrier of order earlier, so why did they suddenly appear now? Could it be because they had fallen into the embrace of chaos? But they were so weak that they couldn't pose any threat to me, let alone help me in any way. Or did they have some sort of trick up their sleeves? I'm about to die here, so why did they appear here? And they said they would save me? Countless thoughts flashed through the Soul Shrieker's mind, then hesitantly spoke. "You two," Yi Feili abruptly cut it off. "My deity. We don't have any other powers, but we can bring you away safely." He grabbed Lola's flower umbrella and pressed it against the Soul Shrieker's body. In front of the Soul Shrieker, the deity corpses suddenly stopped attacking. The deity corpses blankly stood there for a while, seemingly sensing something. But they couldn't find anything. The deity corpses slowly turned around and looked towards the god of life. Slowly they moved. The Soul Shrieker looked at the two tiny carriers of chaos in front of it, as well as the little girl who suddenly appeared in its vision, then at the moving deity corpses. In any case, it had to admit a fact. He had avoided everything and was not discovered by everything. The two carriers of chaos really did use this strange ability to save him. So what was going on? But since the danger wasn't over yet, the Soul Shrieker could only stand still and watch as the corpses of deities slowly flew past it. Meanwhile, the other side, the God of Life was desperately dealing with the attacks of several deities while silently paying attention to the Soul Shrieker's situation. All of a sudden, the Soul Shrieker vanished from his senses. It had completely vanished. Not even the deity corpses could detect the Soul Shrieker. "This is impossible," the God of Life abruptly shouted. However, the development of the situation would not change because of its will. The deity corpses that were attacking the Soul Shrieker were flying towards the God of Life. "Damn it! Damn it!" The God of Life screamed half crazily and half desperately. That bastard really did escape. At this point, a voice resounded in her ears. "I am the deity of chaos, servant of the great Soul Shrieker. As you can see, our deity has a way to avoid this calamity." This voice was so familiar that the God of Life immediately remembered who it was. "That's right, I met him before in Calming Soul Country. He was the Soul Shrieker's servant, brought countless soul artifacts with him, and wanted to exchange for the order from me. I didn't agree. And then, the Soul Shrieker really did come." The God of Life looked around and asked, "What do you want?" She had discovered another shocking secret. The Soul Shrieker's servant was also completely hidden within the void of space, undetectable. It seems they really do have a way to avoid this certain death situation. The God of Life felt a glimmer of hope. At this point, Gu Qingshan activated the power of luck on her body and uttered the final words of Destiny's determination. "Frowny face, from now on, you can only use the order card to exchange for a chance to survive. In truth, what treasure could be more precious than your life?" This was an extremely simple statement and an extremely simple principle. The God of Life treasured her own life the most. This was her true nature. In the current situation of death, she couldn't care less about any other treasures. That was why Gu Qingshan's final words of Destiny's determination was a push at the most crucial moment. The God of Life abruptly raised both hands to repel the deity corpses in front of her, then loudly declared, "I can use the card to exchange for your concealment method, but you must sign a covenant with me." Gu Qingshan froze. "All right, no problem," he said. The God of Life pulled something from the void of space, took out a withered leaf, and wrote a covenant on it. "How do I give it to you?" she asked. "You only need to throw the item you give us into the void of space," Gu Qingshan replied. The God of Life then threw the leaf into the void of space. Boss immediately flipped through the book of prophesied destinies, activated the incantation, and received the withered leaf. The leaf wrote, "Frowny face, the God of Life will give the order card to the Soul Shrieker. After this is done, the Soul Shrieker must think of a way to allow the God of Life to completely escape death. Otherwise, the Soul Shrieker will die together with the God of Life. TCH, what a strict covenant." Boss shook his head, put the withered leaf on top of the book of prophesied destinies, and lightly touched it. The leaf began to give off black smoke. "The covenant is real, and it also has its soul imprint, but it's hiding a bit of a trap," Boss muttered. Gu Qingshan loudly protested in dissatisfaction. "God of Life, you placed a trap on the leaf." The God of Life coldly scoffed and turned her head away. She had thought that a servant like her would be ignorant, but she was able to see through my arrangements. Gu Qingshan sincerely replied, "There is a problem with the words order card. Because we don't know what form the order in your hand takes, we must change the words to order." This was a meaningless word game that the God of Life didn't care about. While defending against the deity corpse's attacks, she angrily replied, "Very well." Very quickly, the words order card on the withered leaf were changed to order. Gu Qingshan didn't say anything else and tossed the withered leaf into the void of space. The withered leaf fell into the void of space and abruptly vanished. Zhang Yongho caught the leaf. My deity, take a look, this is what we have done. It has established a covenant and is willing to give the order to you, Jang Young-ho said. He held the withered leaf with both hands and offered it to the Soul Shrieker. The Soul Shrieker observed the leaf a few times, then used all of its methods to check and confirm that this was real. This was an extremely strict divine covenant, one that even deities would be bound by. In other words, I'm about to obtain the order. I didn't think a few weak carriers of a chaos would be able to accomplish such a great feat. All of the Soul Shrieker's doubts and suspicions were temporarily dispelled. Nothing else matters, as long as I obtain the order. Once I destroy it, the era of chaos will fully and completely descend. The Soul Shrieker took a deep breath and left its soul imprint on the leaf. The withered leaf gave off light and slowly faded away. The covenant was established. The Soul Shrieker and the God of Life immediately sensed it. The Soul Shrieker nodded to Jang Young-ho and Yi Fei-li. You've done well on the other side. Gu Qing-shan held the black umbrella in her hand and told the God of Life. There, please hand over the order, Your Excellency. The God of Life felt extremely reluctant. But at this point, more and more black coffins were descending from the sky, one of which was already giving off the aura of a deity. Everything was heading in the direction of death. I can't hesitate any longer. The God of Life clenched her teeth and took out a card. She glanced at the vast void of space, not knowing where the Soul Shrieker was hiding, so she tossed it into the void of space, just like the leaf from before. Take it, hurry and save me. The card disappeared into the void of space. 1 breath, 2 breath, 3 breath. Gu Qing-shan put the card away, then desperately used ground shrink together with Boss. While Boss flipped through the book of prophesied destinies while chanting an incantation. Sha. Lola, Jang Young-ho, and Yi Fei-li were reverse summoned back to him. Everyone held the 2 umbrellas in their hands and exchanged fearful glances. Go! Gu Qing-shan shouted. Everyone grabbed his sleeves together. He continued to use ground shrink as much as he could. Hurry! 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 Boss urged her. Gu Qing-shan replied. I'm using my full strength. Very quickly, they disappeared into the boundless space vortex. On the battlefield, the God of Life looked at the opposite side. The Soul Shrieker abruptly appeared from the void of space, standing there with a confused expression on its male and female faces. They suddenly spoke at the same time. Hurry and save me! Hand over the order! The voices resounded, fell, and slowly faded into the darkness of nothingness. The expressions of the 2 deities began to change. Time slowly passed. They seemed to have understood something. Baidu search 881 Chinese network yen. Chapter 11:18. The God of Life will hand the order over to the Soul Shrieker. After this is done, the Soul Shrieker must think of a way to allow the God of Life to completely escape death. Otherwise, the Soul Shrieker will die together with the God of Life. The God of Life didn't hand the order over to the Soul Shrieker, but rather to Gu Qing-shan. Because of that, the second half of the divine contract couldn't be activated. On the battlefield, the 2 deities roared in anger and despair. They had realized that they had been tricked by a few puny insects. But there was nothing they could do. In this situation of life and death, they couldn't do anything but continue to fight against the descending black coffin. At another location, somewhere in the space vortex, a black umbrella and a flowery umbrella were sitting next to each other. This place was quite far from the battlefield, so everyone had stopped to rest. Jang Young-ho lit a cigarette with his trembling hand, took a long drag, and muttered to himself, I've gone through so many unimaginable situations of life and death in my life, but the most dangerous one wasn't an assassination, but a scam. Yi Fei-li wiped the sweat off her forehead with a handkerchief and asked Gu Qing-shan, Did you get it? I did. Gu Qing-shan showed a card to everyone. This card was completely empty without any content, but it was surrounded by boundless starlight. So, we succeeded? Lola asked. Yes, Gu Qing Shan nodded. This card was the only hope of the 900 million world layers, and we've finally obtained it. In the void in front of him, lines of glowing text were still there. Because they were in a hurry to escape earlier, they didn't have time to look at them, but now that they were far enough away from the battlefield, Gu Qing Shan looked at these lines of text. You've obtained a unique card. Human Army, Order. This card has no rank. This card was created from the Order of Worlds Apocalypse Online. Human Army, attention. This card's core has been lost. You will need to find the core in order to activate this card. Gu Qingshan was shocked. Now all I need to do is wait for the Angel of Condemnation card and coin to gather all 3 coins. At that time, he would have to travel back in time and return to the day the Spire Keeper Association was destroyed to save Lady Black Sea. That would be the time for World's Apocalypse Online. Human Army to descend. Order will eventually awaken, fight against chaos, and pull the 900 million world layers back from the brink of destruction. I just don't know how Su Sher and Ning Yuechan are doing. Have they successfully retrieved their cards and rings? As he was thinking, Boss suddenly patted his shoulder. What's wrong? Gu Qingshan asked. Boss continued. Although we managed to trick the order card from the 2 deities. It's not cheating, it's taking. Gu Qingshan corrected. Xiao. A cry of agreement came from the void. Fine, we've taken the order card. Boss was speechless. But did you notice that this is actually unprecedented? Gu Qingshan's gaze was focused on the faraway space vortex. Everyone looked in that direction. A dark and eerie presence had enveloped that area. Countless coffins were still descending from above. Soon, everyone instinctively took a step back. Some sort of mysterious power fluctuation was spreading within the space vortex. This fluctuation had surpassed the god of life. Everyone had already retreated far enough that they finally calmed down a bit, but as soon as this power appeared, they started shivering again. Lola couldn't even stand straight anymore. Yi Feili and Zhang Yongho weren't faring much better either, so they were basically forcing themselves to stay where they were. Comparatively, Gu Qingshan and Boss were a bit better off. Something even stronger than divinities has awakened, Boss commented. But what exactly is going on with these black coffins? Yi Feili couldn't help but ask. Gu Qingshan replied, I'm not sure, but the god of life seems to have already known about these black coffins, so... He looked at Boss and slowly understood what he was trying to say. You want to go back and take a look? Gu Qingshan asked. For countless years, there were very few things that even I couldn't figure out, and now that the secret is right in front of us, we need to take a look at what it is, Boss said. Gu Qingshan pondered briefly, then said, Lola, take out the mirror world. Lola then took out a large mirror that was as tall as 2 people. Gu Qingshan then said, We won't be doing anything from now on, and it's too dangerous to observe. Lola, Yinghao, Yi Feili, the 3 of you enter the mirror world to rest first. Boss and I will take a closer look. All right, Zhang Yongho immediately said. I can barely hold on to the umbrella anymore. If you 2 go, it'll be easier to retreat at any time. Since he said that, Yi Feili and Lola naturally didn't object. The 3 of them entered the mirror world. Gu Qingshan quickly put the mirror world away, opened her black umbrella, and told Boss, Let's go. All of a sudden, the Demon King Order, that had been dormant for so long, suddenly lit up. Lines of blood-red text appeared on the Demon King Order SUA. Discovered an Order card. This card was created using Order, Human Legion, but does not have a corresponding Order core. This card can provide sufficient materials to summon the ultimate Demon King. Prepare to expend soul points to complete this summoning. The Demon King is about to descend. Gu Qingshan's expression warped and shouted, You're not allowed to touch this card. Blood-red text appeared on the Demon King Order SUI. Frowny face. Objection nullified. This order's duty is to summon the Demon King to descend upon this world, to create a complete world of the Demon King Order. Begin the series of preparations. Gu Qingshan glanced at the Demon King Order SUI. Numerous characters that she couldn't understand were appearing on it. Obviously, it was about to summon the Demon King. Bastard, I saved your life, Gu Qingshan gritted her teeth. The Demon King Order replied. I'm sorry, only the Demon King's descent can fight against chaos. Gu Qingshan froze. Damn it, this Demon King Order really is trying to take advantage of my card and soul points. You're very good, Gu Qingshan begrudgingly called out. War God Ui. I'm here. The War God Ui lit up. Without waiting for Gu Qingshan to say anything else, a line of glowing text appeared on the War God Ui frowny face privatization of soul points. Instantly, the two UIs in front of Gu Qingshan changed slightly. On the War God UI, Gu Qingshan's remaining soul points was still displayed as 4013796/600 on the Demon King Order's UI. Her remaining soul points disappeared, displaying as 0/600. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit. After killing the occultism spirit, I obtained 5 million soul points, but after using a bit, I only have about 4 million soul points left. The order needs soul points to activate. Now that the War God UI had directly taken away all of her soul points, the Demon King Order couldn't do anything it wanted to. The blood-red runes on the Demon King Order began to disappear in large numbers. Following that, a line of glowing text appeared on the War God UI frowny face. This privatization will ensure that only Gu Qingshan herself can use these 4 million soul points, no exceptions under any circumstances. Gu Qingshan sighed in relief. Another line of glowing text appeared on the War God UI frowny face. In order to complete this privatization, the War God UI had expended a great deal of effort, so 1,000 soul points will be deducted. Ting. Gu Qingshan saw that his privatized soul points had been deducted by 1,000. Hey, didn't you privatize it? Gu Qingshan asked in confusion. The War God UI paused briefly before replying. The War God UI is Gu Qingshan's personal property, so you can use this soul points. This time's question has been answered. 200 soul points will be deducted on the War God UI. Gu Qingshan's remaining soul points were deducted by another 200. Gu Qingshan. At this point, a line of blood-red text also appeared on the Demon King Order frowny face. This time's drill has been concluded. Rest assured, host. This drill is only for special situations. Director Su's soul points will not be used. Gu Qingshan. He looked at the two UIs in the void of space, truly speechless. One was hiding, ready to steal my soul points and order cards at any time. The other claimed to be my personal property, openly earning soul points from me every day. I'm tired. Boss curiously asked. Why do you look so pale all of a sudden? It's a small matter, it's already been dealt with, let's go. Gu Qingshan replied. Let's go. The two of them held the black umbrella and flew towards the black coffins again. Chapter 11:19. The battle between the two deities and a group of dead deities and demigods was still ongoing. At the center of the battlefield, the god of life and soul Shrieker were both roaring angrily. Both of them had lived for countless years, so they had a natural sense for combat. So while they were fighting, they kept their gazes on the coffins that had just descended. If they noticed that the presence of a coffin was too powerful, they would act without any regard for anything else to destroy the coffin. This way, the coffins would turn faint and temporarily disappear. However, as time went on, the coffins would reappear, together with the coffins that were descending, raining down like a tidal wave, slowly overwhelming the two deities. The deity corpses that came out from the coffins began to form an encirclement. The god of life and soul Shrieker had no choice but to stand back to back and help each other, barely managing to maintain the balance of the battle. In the face of death, any conflict could be temporarily put aside. Furthermore, they had also realized that they had been tricked. Even so, they didn't have much time left. At this point, Gu Qing-shan and Boss arrived at the edge of the battlefield with their black umbrellas. Boss scowled, stared closely at the deity corpses, and muttered, "That can't be right, these aren't just the corpses of deities from the inner plane, there are also some that I don't recognize." Gu Qing-shan asked, "You recognize all of the deities from the inner plane?" "I recognize all 80,000 true deities," Boss confirmed. "What's more powerful than a true deity?" Gu Qing-shan asked. "The Divine King. Just now, one of the coffins had the presence of a Divine King, so when those two were desperately attacking the coffin temporarily disappeared. It'll probably reappear after a while," Boss replied. Gu Qing-shan continued, "And so, the question is, where did these deities that you don't recognize come from?" He silently floated up, approached one of the coffins, and carefully observed it. "This seems to be a coffin manifested by a spell," Gu Qing-shan commented. As soon as he said that, he was shocked. A spell? What kind of spell could control hundreds of thousands of deities and demigods? And even the Divine King? It was simply preposterous. Gu Qing-shan shook her head and was about to deny this idea when Boss spoke up. "That's right, I also felt it, this is a type of spell, look at those deity corpses." Gu Qing-shan followed Boss's direction and released her inner sight. The coffin closest to them opened, and a demigod corpse walked out. "Look carefully," Boss said in a low voice. "Yes," Gu Qing-shan replied. He sensed it with his divine will. On the demigod's corpse, there were a few threads as thin as hair that were pulling the corpse's limbs and body. Upon closer inspection, one would discover that these threads were not real threads, but rather dark rays of light that were condensed from some strange runes. That's right, this was a spell. Gu Qing-shan and Boss exchanged glances and saw the shock in each other's eyes. One of them was a world-traveling savior, the Devil King of Huang Quan, the Earth Pillar God. The other was the greatest above the Star Crown, the Abyssal Master, the King of Infinite Origins. Both of them were knowledgeable and experienced. But neither of them had ever heard of a spell that could control hundreds of thousands of deities' corpses like this. Boss appeared confused. What kind of spell could it be that could summon all the deities from their tombs? "I really have no idea," Gu Qing-shan pondered for a bit, then asked. "Calming Soul Country is only a place where the descendants of the deities live?" Boss asked. "What do you think?" Gu Qing-shan replied. The God of Life clearly knew about this beforehand and had been hiding in Calming Soul Country this entire time, so I'm guessing that it might be related to this spell. Boss appeared nostalgic and explained. When the inner plane was destroyed, countless corpses of those who died in battle were ejected into the space vortex. The 7 deities who managed to survive gathered the corpses of those who died in battle and created a tomb within the space vortex, which the God of Life was responsible for watching over. Later on, the God of Life also placed all of her descendants near the tomb and created a world, which is the Calming Soul Country that you know of. Gu Qing-shan was surprised. No wonder it was called Calming Soul Country, so this place was close to the tomb of those who died in battle. Gu Qing-shan couldn't help but ask, what kind of world was the inner plane and why was it destroyed? Seeing how serious he was, Boss explained. The inner plane is a unique place that ensures that parallel worlds cannot see each other, as well as the space vortex that separates parallel worlds from one another. Perhaps parallel worlds would split apart at various points in history, forming new parallel worlds, but there is only one inner plane. Once the inner plane is destroyed, the parallel worlds and the space vortex would slowly fall into chaos, causing various problems. Gu Qing-shan asked. For example, the conflict between the parallel worlds and the apocalypse that led to them falling into the eternal abyss? Boss sighed. Indeed, the inner plane had already been destroyed by the apocalypse, so the parallel worlds had already fallen into chaos. Gu Qing-shan fell into thought again. The inner plane wasn't completely wiped out, I remember there were still returnees. Gu Qing-shan said. Indeed, but the reincarnation of a soul within the space vortex is extremely dangerous. Only the divine kings have the ability to do so, Boss continued. Only one divine king would emerge from every 10,000 divinities. There are 80,000 divinities in the inner plane, but there are a total of 8 divine kings. Above the 8 divine kings is the Grand Empress. She is responsible for ruling over the entire inner plane. At the time of the inner plane's destruction, the Grand Empress was no match for the Apocalypse and went missing after being heavily wounded. 2 of the 8 divine kings died in battle, while the other 6 knew they couldn't win and reincarnated. Hearing that, Gu Qingshan was shaken and tried her best to retract her thoughts. What we need to do now is to investigate what exactly this technique was, Boss pondered. Something that could cause the God of Life to be afraid of couldn't be as simple as a simple technique, it might also be related to something she had done. For countless years, she had remained holed up in Calming Soul Country, Gu Qingshan muttered. So we can be sure of one thing. First of all, Calming Soul Country is safe for her, so whatever she had done must have nothing to do with Calming Soul Country. If there was something that could cause her to be afraid, it must have come from outside of Calming Soul Country. She had been hiding in Calming Soul Country all this time, so what exactly did she do that was related to the outside world? The two of them thought for a few moments. It's not an order card, Gu Qingshan concluded. There's nothing wrong with the card, I can prove that. Then there's only one thing left, Boss said. The two of them turned to the God of Life. Its body was that of a black snake with a purple helmet on its head, black arms on its body, and a tail that could split into countless tentacles. Indeed, the only thing left was this monster. The God of Life had taken this monster's body for herself. Strangely, even the deities couldn't kill this monster, so how did the God of Life manage to take over this monster's body? The more they thought about it, the more they felt something was amiss. While they were making their own deductions, the situation on the battlefield was becoming more and more dangerous. Both the God of Life and the Soul Shrieker were already covered in wounds. Another row of coffins descended. 5 deity corpses emerged from the coffins. The Soul Shrieker couldn't hold itself back anymore and shouted, "Come out, Gu Qingshan!" Gu Qingshan and Boss were both surprised. How did this guy know we were here? The Soul Shrieker continued to shout, "I know you must be nearby, just watch." Boom! Boundless light abruptly erupted from its body, slowly converging on one of its fists to form a blinding mass of light. This was almost all of its power. Boss commented with a serious expression, "What an intense deific retribution power." Gu Qingshan also nodded. The power of this chaos, deific retribution, was completely different from the deific retribution he faced last time. While dodging the deity corpse's attacks, the Soul Shrieker loudly declared, "I know that you have a deep relationship with the Bramblebird Kingdom. I'll count to 3. If you don't use that concealment technique to save me, I'll unleash this deific retribution and destroy the entire Bramblebird Kingdom. I know that you can borrow my power, but I can unleash the same attack several times in a row. I refuse to believe that you can borrow the power of my deific retribution forever." Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. This monster's mind is truly sly and cunning. It actually managed to grasp my weakness. Lola didn't hesitate to help me, so I can't just watch as her country is destroyed. Boss glanced at her worriedly. Gu Qingshan shook her head, expressing that she was fine. He calmly looked at the Soul Shrieker. The Earth Sword silently appeared in his hand. "Your soul points isn't enough to kill it." The Earth Sword's heavy voice resounded. "I know, we'll only use Sanctuary," Gu Qingshan casually replied. He added, "Full power, or that's fine." The Earth Sword went silent after saying so. At this point, the Soul Shrieker couldn't stop the deity corpse's attacks and loudly counted, 3, 2, 1. It furiously roared and swung its fist. Gu Qingshan move. Divine skill, Shadow Shift. Instantly, he switched places with the God of Life. He wielded the umbrella in one hand and the Earth Sword in the other. A single strike. Boom! The Earth Sword heavily struck the Soul Shrieker's body, causing it to stagger and about to be sent flying. Countless images abruptly manifested from the void of space and froze the Soul Shrieker in place. Who would have thought it was prepared? But with a strike of 1001 times gravity combined with Gu Qingshan's full power, the Soul Shrieker's cluster of deific retribution light was forced out of its hand and drifted upwards. As soon as he swung his sword, Gu Qingshan used Shadow Shift again without hesitation. At the very next moment, the God of Life was switched back. At the same time, the Soul Shrieker reacted and attacked behind itself. Before the God of Life could understand what was going on, she was struck and sent flying into a group of demigods. "Arg! You're courting death!" the God of Life angrily shouted. All of a sudden, all voices went silent. Whether it was Gu Qingshan, the God of Life, or the Soul Shrieker, none of them could say anything at this point. They looked up. The cluster of deific retribution light shot up to the sky, blew away the unrecognizable darkness, and revealed something. A gigantic green-furred face was looking down from the darkness above. The green-furred face opened its mouth wide. Countless wooden coffins were falling from its mouth. At the very next moment, the power of deific retribution disappeared. The darkness above the battlefield once again converged to cover the green-furred face. Chapter 11:20. The green-furred face returned to the darkness. "What was that?" Boss muttered in a low voice, his voice trembling a bit. Gu Qingshan froze in place. Her hand that was holding the umbrella was soaked in cold sweat. Indeed, the 900 million world layers had countless different worlds, and the space vortex was filled with countless inexplicable things. But this green-furred face had already surpassed the realm of inexplicable things. Not even Boss knew what it was. On the battlefield, the God of Life finally couldn't hold herself back anymore and madly tried to escape. But as more and more deity corpses appeared on the battlefield, some of them immediately tried to stop her. This movement drew the attention of the majority of the deity corpses, alleviating the Soul Shrieker's pressure. The Soul Shrieker circulated its divine power and roared, "Gu Qingshan, you might be able to stop me this time, but what about now? I'll count to 3, if you don't come out and save me, I will truly destroy the Bramblebird Kingdom, trust me, you won't be able to stop me." A cluster of light manifested from the power of chaos on both of its hands. The cluster of light gave off an increasingly bright light. Gu Qingshan looked at the Soul Shrieker and scowled. "This guy is threatening me again and again. During the deific retribution just now, this guy had arranged countless traps in the void of space around it. Only the God of Life who was fighting it back to back didn't have any traps, because it was afraid of causing a misunderstanding with the God of Life. Gu Qingshan knew that the God of Life was safe, so she used Shadow Shift to appear behind the God of Life and cut off the Soul Shrieker's attack. But now, the God of Life had madly rushed forward. Gu Qingshan was certain that the Soul Shrieker had arranged countless chaos spells in the void of space around it, leaving no openings. "It was only waiting for me to take the bait." Gu Qingshan quickly asked Boss, "Can you stop it for a bit?" Boss replied, "No problem, but I won't be able to stop it for too long, help me stall for time, I'll think of something," Gu Qingshan said. Boss held the umbrella in one hand, opened the book of prophesized destinies with the other, and tore out 2 pages. Ho! 2 pages burst into flames in his hand. When Boss lost all his power, he could resist the god's punishment together with Gu Qingshan. Now that he had the support of the abyss, his power had recovered, so he could resist the god's punishment. On the battlefield, while dodging the deity corpse's attacks, the Soul Shrieker shouted, 3, 2, 1. It raised both hands and shouted, "Gu Qingshan, prepare to regret this, the Bramblebird Kingdom will soon cease to exist." 2 balls of light filled with divine power of chaos suddenly shot out. At the same time, Boss threw the 2 burning pages into the void. Flames of nihility. Boom! The 2 balls of God's punishment power were hit by something invisible, twisting and flying into the unknown space turbulence. Boss used his skill to change the direction of the chaos holy punishment. The divine retribution of chaos couldn't accurately hit the Bramble Bird Kingdom. As for where the two divine punishments would go, that was not something anyone could control. The Soul Shrieker immediately noticed. It angrily roared, "Flames of nihility, so it was you! You've fallen to such a level, mixing with the insects of the 900 million world layers, how pitiful!" At this point, the God of Life had already crossed over half of the battlefield and was about to escape. More and more deity corpses were heading towards its direction. There was even a black coffin that exuded immense pressure that descended just a bit in front of the God of Life. The Soul Shrieker's pressure was greatly reduced. The light around its body once again erupted as it spoke in a low voice. "It's useless, Abyssal King, Gu Qing Shan, if you want to save the Bramble Bird Kingdom, there is only one way, and that is to save me." 3 of its 6 hands slowly manifested the light of deity's punishment. Boss didn't say anything and simply wiped the sweat off his forehead. 3 more burning pages hovered above the book of prophesied destiny. At this point, he had done everything he could. At the same time, Gu Qing Shan recalled the gourd adorable. "These deity corpses are being controlled by a technique. Can I borrow that technique?" he asked. The gourd adorable shook a bit and replied, "Shio shio shio, shio 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 shio. This is a combination skill, I can't borrow all of it." Gu Qing Shan was a bit surprised. He knew about combination skills, they were all extremely complicated. For example, the God of Life's demonic soul slaying edge was one of the simplest combination skills, which only allowed the same skill to be superimposed to break through the limit of the skill's power. There were also some combination skills that combined the characteristics of various skills to form a new skill with unparalleled power. These were the 2 simplest situations. "Come," Gu Qing Shan reached her hand out, placed it on the jade gourd adorable, and transferred 100,000 soul points over. This jade gourd had been sealed for countless years, only meeting Gu Qing Shan when it was starving to death, receiving soul points and returning to its lively state. And Gu Qing Shan had always treated it well. The situation this time was too dangerous, so Gu Qing Shan needed to properly discuss with it. "Shio shio, shio shio shio. What the hell, you have so much soul points?" The jade gourd adorable exclaimed in shock. Gu Qing Shan replied, "That's right, we can't borrow a combination skill, but we can borrow a few of the more powerful individual skills. Can you do that?" The gourd immediately replied, "Shio." "Yes." Gu Qing Shan asked, "What do you think about individual skills?" The jade gourd adorable became spirited and quickly circled around the battlefield. Gu Qing Shan took this chance to check on Boss's situation. Boss was continuously releasing flames of nihility to change the direction of the Soul Shrieker's deific retribution, but he was also reaching his limit. "I'm about to run out of energy, have you thought of anything yet?" Boss gritted his teeth. "Buy me a bit more time," Gu Qing Shan said. At this point, the jade gourd adorable returned, seemingly troubled as it let out a series of shio 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 sounds. Hearing that, Gu Qing Shan pondered for a bit before replying, "I understand, I can achieve what you can't, I'll cooperate with you, but are you sure that the individual skill you mentioned just now is one of the strongest combination skills?" The jade gourd adorable nodded up and down to express its confirmation. Gu Qing Shan glanced at the Soul Shrieker and made up her mind. "All right, then let's go." I can't give the Soul Shrieker any chance, because it already knew what Gu Qing Shan cared about, and it had switched from direct confrontation to threatening her. I need to take this chance to get rid of it. Shio. Go. The gourd responded and landed on Gu Qing Shan's shoulder. Gu Qing Shan immediately used ground shrink and vanished. He brought Boss and the jade gourd adorable back into the battlefield, directly above the black coffins. Avoiding the black threads that connected the deity corpses, Gu Qing Shan looked down. Over there. His gaze landed on the coffin with the strongest aura. At this point, the god of life was in a hurry to escape. The soul shrieker was busy threatening Gu Qingshan to save itself, and this coffin had landed at the edge of the battlefield, surrounded by so many black coffins that the two deities didn't have the time to interrupt its opening. The coffin slowly opened. A hand was placed on the edge of the coffin and lightly pushed it. Boom! The black coffin instantly shattered. The dust scattered. A tall black figure appeared in front of everyone. He was wearing a yiksha mask, his upper body was bare, and there were 7 weapons strapped to his back. A blade, a spear, an axe, a hammer, a bow, a sword, and a staff. Ho! Boundless divine might exuded from his body and engulfed the entire battlefield. Embark! The god of life screamed and tried her best to escape the battlefield. The soul shrieker was also trembling, trying to find a way to escape. It understood very well that if it stayed still, the other party's attacks would be relatively gentle, but if it tried to escape, all the deity corpses would rush forward, and the black coffins would descend even faster. But there was no other way. The soul shrieker gritted its teeth and unleashed another 4 clusters of deific retribution light. It shouted, Gu Qingshan, Abyssal King, this is your final chance, either save me, or I will do everything in my power to destroy the Bramble Bird Kingdom. Boss turned to Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan ignored him and pointed her sword at the powerful deity corpse, asking, Is this the Divine King? Boss quickly replied, This is indeed the power of the Divine King realm, but I've never seen this person before, so he's most likely not a Divine King from the inner plane. Gu Qingshan looked at the man and muttered, Strange, why does he have a familiar presence? While talking, he had already brought Boss down. Boss hurriedly asked, What are you trying to do? Find a helper, Gu Qingshan replied. With a single thought, the earth sword appeared in his hand. Sword seal activated. Secret art, full moon consecutive slashes. A blinding white crescent-shaped sword phantom flashed through the void of darkness like an explosion. The dozens of hair-thin black rune strings that were connected to the deity corpse from above and used to control it were all severed. At the same time, on the war god Ui, Gu Qingshan's remaining soul points was reduced by more than 780,000. Just to sever these rune strings, Gu Qingshan had spent so much soul points. What an unimaginable technique this was! The shirtless man with the 7 weapons on his back stopped moving. In that split second, Gu Qingshan shouted, Adorable! The Gord's voice resounded from the void of space. Xiao xiao xiao, xiao 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 xiao. This divine skill is truly wondrous, I shall borrow it and make it shine. Sha 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 sha. Several dozen black rune strings flew out from Gu Qingshan's body and connected to the shirtless man's body. Gu Qingshan suddenly felt a strange sensation. He felt as if he had gained another body. A body that contained immense divinity and could sweep away anything in its path. A line of glowing text appeared on the war god Ui frowny face. You've performed the Samsara Huang Quan divine skill. Lead the people. Chapter 11:21. Lines of glowing text appeared one after another on the war god Ui. You've performed the Samsara Huang Quan divine skill. Lead people, you've taken control of the corpse. Samsara Azura deific king, as the difference in strength between you and the Azura deific king's corpse is too great, you can only control the deific king's corpse for 1 minute. Seeing the words Azura deific king, Gu Qingshan immediately understood. No wonder I felt a sense of familiarity. Back when I was in Huang Quan, and even during the Wind Tribulation, I've come into contact with the Azura race quite a few times, so I have a deep impression of the Azura race's attire, presence, and appearance. As soon as this deific king appeared, I could clearly sense the presence of an Azura king. The Azura deific king wore a Yiksha mask and carried 7 weapons on his back, standing in front of Gu Qingshan. Time. 1 minute. Gu Shan turned her gaze to the Soul Shrieker, only to see that it was still gathering the power of chaos, preparing to unleash another divine retribution. It didn't know that the Azure Deific King had already fallen under Gu Shan's control. The Deific King's appearance caused the Soul Shrieker to feel fear and become even more hysterical. Its 6 arms clasped together, drawing upon the boundless light in the void of space to form a divine retribution that surpassed all previous ones. Gu Shan, this is your last chance. Give me your answer in 3 seconds. I'll now count. 3, 2, 1. Without waiting for it to act, the Azure Deific King moved. Neither the God of Life nor the Soul Shrieker saw how the Azure Deific King moved. And then all 6 of the Soul Shrieker's arms were cut off. The light of divine retribution on its hands instantly vanished. The Azure Deific King was already wielding an axe at some point. Blood dripped down from the axe's blade. So strong. That's as easy as blowing off dust. So much stronger than a normal Deific King. Boss couldn't help but exclaim. The Azure race is the best at combat, Gu Shan replied. He was inwardly shocked as well. According to his private conversation with the Gourd Adorable, he knew very well that the black coffins in front of him were made up of 23 divine skills. I didn't think that I would be able to suppress the Soul Shrieker just by borrowing one of the divine skills. At the same time, another black coffin descended from above, blocking the God of Life's path. This black coffin was protected by numerous deity corpses, preventing the God of Life from attacking it in advance. An energy fluctuation as deep as the sea emerged from the black coffin, causing the God of Life to feel despair. Another divine king. There was no other way. Ah, damn it, damn it! The old woman screamed in a frenzy. She finally despaired. Suddenly, a voice sounded in her mind. Come back, I still have a way. The only way to escape. It was the Soul Shrieker's voice. The old woman's spirits rose, and she hurriedly retreated to the center of the battlefield. While retreating, it glanced at the Soul Shrieker. The other party's 6 arms were all broken, but he still did his best to surround himself with countless divine lights, forming an extremely sturdy defense. The Soul Shrieker's appearance was extremely miserable. Its gaze met the God of Life. The other party's voice resounded in the God of Life's mind again. Listen. The God of Life quickly listened. The other party's method was unimaginable, but the God of Life didn't care. At this moment of complete despair, she no longer cared about whether the other party's words were true or not. As long as I can survive, everything else doesn't matter. At another location, in the void of space, Gu Shan once again issued an order to the Azure Deific King. The Azure Deific King put his axe back on his back and took out his bow. The bow was pulled into a full crescent. From the void of space, an arrow carved from pure white ivory manifested. Then, the Deific King's fingers loosened. Before anyone could clearly see what happened, the lower half of the Soul Shrieker's body was completely blown to bits. Arg! Bastard, it must be you, Gu Shan. Get out here! The Soul Shrieker roared in pain. Gu Shan's expression was expressionless. That's still not dead? You're quite capable. He focused his thoughts again. The Azure Deific King put the bow back on his back and drew the Azure blade. After 2 attempts, Gu Shan had gotten used to this method of controlling others. There were 20 seconds left. That's enough. Today, right here, right now, I'm going to kill the Soul Shrieker. Following Gu Shan's thought, the Azure Deific King's body slightly tilted forward. The Deific King began to charge towards the center of the battlefield. As soon as the Soul Shrieker saw the other party draw the blade, it hurriedly shouted, "There's no time, abandon that monster's body, hurry!" The God of Life gritted her teeth and slashed behind herself. The black snake's long tail was severed, turned back into the God of Life, and continued to fly towards the Soul Shrieker. Indeed, the monster's body was very powerful, so much so that even the attacks of many deity corpses couldn't harm it. But the Soul Shrieker had made it clear. Only the deity's body could escape. At this point, for the sake of survival, she could only reluctantly abandon the monster's body. The god of life slowly approached the soul shrieker, and the Azura deific king caught up in an instant. He and the god of life arrived in front of the soul shrieker at the same time. The deific king raised his blade. "There's no time," the god of life cried out in despair. "No, there's just enough time," the soul shrieker roared. The soul shrieker's body abruptly erupted in a blinding light that enveloped the god of life. This was the power of a true deity. Inside the light, the god of life gave up on her defenses and slowly disappeared, while the soul shrieker howled in pain. At the very next moment, the Azura deific king's blade slashed through the soul shrieker's neck and decapitated it. Gu Qingshan originally sighed in relief, but then suddenly scowled. The soul shrieker's head was covered in a layer of gloomy light, silently hovering in the air. Something unimaginable happened. The soul shrieker that originally had a male and a female face suddenly grew another face on its forehead. It was an old face full of wrinkles. The god of life. The god of life had fused with the soul shrieker. Gu Qingshan instinctively noticed something amiss and controlled the Azura deific king to unleash another slash. The blade passed through the soul shrieker's head, but didn't touch it at all. "Ahahaha, so what if you're the deific king?" The soul shrieker's female voice uttered a mocking laugh. "What's going on?" Gu Qingshan asked in a low voice. Boss sighed. "I remember now, the deity fusion technique is a forbidden and serious matter, but there is a benefit to it. During the fusion process, this technique will urge all of the origin laws to protect it and ensure that this fusion won't be interrupted. It only has a head left, but it can still survive through the fusion?" Gu Qingshan asked. "That's hard to say. The god of life will probably have a way to deal with it. They'll have to suffer a bit before finally completing the fusion," Boss replied. At this point, the soul shrieker's head faced the void of space and loudly declared, Gu Qingshan, you've heavily wounded me, but my lifespan is limitless, and now that I've fused with the god of life, once I regain my strength, I will take your life and torture your soul for all eternity." Its body abruptly burst into flames, enveloped its head, and disappeared into the void of space. Gu Qingshan was surprised. It ran away? It had actually hidden a way for him to escape with his life. Gu Qingshan wanted to have the deific king chase after it, but the deific king's corpse needed to be enveloped by another divine skill in order to unleash the skills it had when it was alive. The deific king couldn't leave the range of these black coffins. The descent of countless deity corpses was actually the result of several dozen divine skills interacting with one another. At this point, the battlefield changed again. The deity corpses that flew out from the black coffins all gathered in front of the giant black snake and surrounded it. "Seems like their target is this monster's corpse," Boss muttered. Gu Qingshan also nodded. So that's what happened. No wonder the god of life had been hiding inside Calming Soul Country without daring to come out. But why did it insist on taking over this monster's corpse? Could it be to avoid the old god's vow, so that it wouldn't be restrained by the vow and could peacefully consume the souls of the demis to strengthen itself? If Gu Qingshan's group hadn't come here, it would have been able to sit back and relax. It would have been able to continue like this for countless years. What a disgusting divinity. Wait a minute. Gu Qingshan looked at Boss. Boss also looked at him. The two of them both thought of the same horrifying answer. If this monster's corpse was related to these deity corpses, that should have been a matter from countless years ago. In other words, since countless years ago, this technique that was created from the combination of divine skills had already existed. Even after several tens of thousands of years, this divine skill was still working. What kind of unimaginable power was this? The two of them were shocked. From the darkness above, countless black fog descended from above and entered the black snake's corpse. The black snake began to tremble slightly. Gu Qingshan didn't dare to be careless anymore and immediately brought Boss away from this place. Who knows what would happen next? Just in time, the duration of the Azura deific king's control was about to end. Gu Qingshan seemed to have remembered something and hurriedly used ground shrink to appear behind the Azura deific king, placing his hand on a weapon. This technique was too terrifying, so he didn't dare to casually take the deific king's weapon for himself. He only lightly pressed his hand on the Azura deific king's sword, expending almost all of his soul points, then opened the black umbrella and brought Boss away from the technique's range. A second later, the Samsara divine skill, lead the people's duration had ended. The Azura deific king instantly stopped moving and stood still. A few moments later, the deific corpses around it seemed to have noticed its problem. Black threads of runes once again descended from above to control the Azura deific king's corpse. In the void of space far away from the technique's range, Boss and Gu Qingshan silently observed the technique's transformation. A green-furred human face was hidden in the darkness above the technique. Countless black coffins descended from above. The deific corpses stood around the black coffins. From the looks of it, this combination divine skill was about to be completed. Recalling the amount of time that this divine skill could cover, both Gu Qingshan and Boss were a bit shocked and couldn't help but retreat a bit further. Boss couldn't help but ask, "Why did you touch the deific king's sword just now?" "It was nothing. I originally wanted to take the sword, but was afraid that there might be some unknown issues, so I gave up," Gu Qingshan replied. Boss agreed. "You did the right thing. This technique hasn't dissipated after such a long time, so it's better for us to be careful." Gu Qingshan nodded. In the void of space in front of him, a certain option was still blinking on the War God UI. War God Skills, lines of glowing text appeared from War God Skills, and stopped on the UI frowny face. "You've touched the Azura Divine Sword. You've expended 3 million soul points to comprehend a portion of the skills you can perform on the Divine Sword." Chapter 11:22. Gu Qingshan and Boss stood extremely far away from the battlefield, silently observing the situation of the combined divine skill. Boss was carefully observing it, while Gu Qingshan couldn't help but stare at the void of space. Lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI frowny face. "As you've learned the Azura race's combat skills, you've only expended 3 million soul points to comprehend a portion of the Divine Sword's skills." The very first line of notification left Gu Qingshan speechless. "Fortunately, I've come into contact with the Azura race and obtained the Azura King's inheritance, so I've learned quite a bit of their swordsmanship. Otherwise, I wouldn't have enough soul points to use." At this point, his comprehension of swordsmanship was constantly surging through his mind, while the notifications on the War God UI kept popping up. Frowny face Azura Royal Family's basic swordsmanship, primary. You've grasped this swordsmanship. Azura King's swordsmanship knowledge, intermediate. You've grasped this swordsmanship, currently integrating it into your swordsmanship. Azura Deific King's swordsmanship, advanced. You will need to spend some time to slowly digest and comprehend this. Swordsmanship description. These are the Azura race's most advanced basic swordsmanship, including swordsmanship knowledge and slashing techniques under various circumstances. To comprehend the above swordsmanship, you've expended a total of 50,000 soul points. These swordsmanship contain the Azura race's fighting style and characteristics. As a human sword cultivator, Gu Qingshan had never come into contact with the Azura Deific King's swordsmanship, so he had a barrier in understanding it. But with his swordsmanship cultivation, as long as he truly understood it, he would be able to comprehend these basic swordsmanship very quickly. Because of that, 50,000 soul points was actually quite a lot. Gu Qingshan stood in the void of space, carefully comprehending the Azura Deific King's basic swordsmanship, comparing it with his own swordsmanship and quickly comprehending it. The Azura Deity King had fought countless battles throughout his life, so he had dabbled in both the human and heaven realms' swordsmanship. His attainments in swordsmanship were unfathomable, so he was able to categorize swordsmanship from an overall perspective. The Asura deity king acknowledged the human sword cultivator's sword immortal realm, because this kind of sword-wielding realm could be called a sword master in the heaven, human, and Asura realms. He believed that when one's swordsmanship had reached this level, they had truly broken through the shackles of the mortal world and had begun to enter the mainstream. As for Gu Qingshan's one-sword realm, to put it bluntly, it was actually condensing the strength of the entire sword immortal realm into one sword. To be able to do this meant that his sword art was extremely powerful, but it was still at the peak of the sword immortal realm. However, if someone could reach the realm of one sword, it meant that they could break through to the next realm. The next realm was to use the sword like a god, and that was Sword God. The Asura deity king believed that when a swordsman broke through the realm of one sword, he would be able to split into hundreds and thousands of swords again. When the thousands of swords were unleashed at the same time, each sword strike would surpass the full power of a sword immortal. Only then would it signify that the swordsman had broken through the realm of sword immortal and reached the realm of sword god. Sword god. Reading up to this point, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but feel fascinated. In the past, the human sword cultivator Xie Guhong was able to condense hundreds of thousands of swords into a single sword, then split into 7 swords, walking on the path of sword god. Such a brilliant genius, but due to the eternal monster's invasion of humanity, he eventually died with regret. And right now, I'm also standing at the peak of the Sword Saint realm. One day, I'll surpass my predecessors and become a true sword god. Gu Qingshan sighed. His understanding of the Asura deity king's swordsmanship wasn't limited to just this. Other than the foundational swordsmanship, there was also the Asura deity king's swordsmanship. The more he comprehended it, the more he felt it to be boundlessly vast and powerful. Could it be a secret art? Gu Qingshan glanced at the war god UI and couldn't help but hold his breath. The description of that swordsmanship had just appeared on the war god UI frowny face Asura deity sword art divine skill. Rahu's eclipse of sun and moon. This divine skill is divided into 3 swords, one is parting fire, one is frost edge. Once frost and flame are formed, eclipse of sun and moon parting fire. Sword of extinguishing flame, / frost edge, sword of extinguishing frost, capture, eclipse of sun and moon. Sword of traceless heaven and earth, once unleashed, it will always hit legend. Has it that this was the swordsmanship divine skill that the Asura deity king used during his decisive battle against the Heaven Realm's emperor? To comprehend this swordsmanship, you've spent a total of 2,950,000 soul points. Performing this divine skill requires soul points. Parting fire requires 20,000 soul points. Frost Edge requires 30,000 soul points, Eclipse of Sun and Moon requires 100,000 soul points. Special note: the stronger you become, the more powerful the divine skill will be, and the more soul points it will consume. Reading this, Gu Qingshan felt her blood freezing. Legend has it that during the war between the Asura race and the Heaven Realm, there was an Asura deity king who was able to eclipse the sun and moon with his bare hand. Who would have thought that I'd personally witness a divine skill related to this? Gu Qingshan could sense that the swordsmanship she was comprehending was extremely powerful, but she didn't think it would be related to this divine skill. It's a divine skill. Indeed, I have quite a few decent secret arts like Torrent, a Life Seeker, and the 7 Stars Flowing Dragon. I also know how to perform the powerful Tai Sword Array. But Gu Qingshan had never once grasped a swordsmanship divine skill in his entire life. This was also the first time he found out that above secret arts and sword arrays, swordsmanship also had a divine skill. Although this divine skill costs a total of 150,000 soul points to perform, and it will only increase in the future, the expenditure isn't the only thing that matters. If I use this divine skill to kill a powerful enemy, the amount of soul points I'll gain will be more than enough, and I might even be able to benefit from it. However, the descriptions of these skills are a bit vague, so I'll have to try them out to find out what effects they have. Gu Qingshan was eager to try them out, so he couldn't help but check his remaining soul points. Remaining soul points, 19998/600. I've already used a bit of soul points in my previous battles. Cutting off those black runes cost me 700,000 to 800,000 soul points, then 3 million soul points to learn the Azura swordsmanship, so this is the only soul points I have left. Very good, I only need 2 soul points to perform Parting Fire. Gu Qingshan silently consoled himself. For some reason, he suddenly thought of something else. Rahu's eclipse of sun and moon was undoubtedly an unprecedentedly powerful divine skill that originated from the Azura race. And the Azura race was a part of the Samsara. Shifu also knows an Azura divine skill. Back when she faced her tribulation in Shenwu world, Shifu used the Azura divine skill, Vijaya Dora, to scare away the monsters within the wind tribulation. After that, in Baihua Palace, under the pressure of the Cultivation Alliance's elders, she prepared to use this divine skill again. Other than that, she also knows the Huang Quan divine skill, Forgetting River. Speaking of the Huang Quan divine skill, I've just used Lead People to directly control the Azura Deific King's court. Why are the Samsara divine skills stronger than the divine skills of the 900 million world layers? Where exactly did the true Samsara come from? Gu Qingshan was full of questions. No, I need to find some time to return and discuss the Samsara with Shifu. At this point, Boss nudged him and whispered, "Look." Gu Qingshan retracted his thoughts and released his inner sight to look at the scene. The black coffin was no longer descending. Countless deity corpses surrounded the purple-armored black snake, completely packed together. The black fog above the void of space had already dissipated, so the terrifying green-furred face once again appeared. The green-furred face breathed out at the black snake. Within Gu Qingshan's inner sight, he saw a gigantic faint figure entering the black snake's body together with that breath. The purple shell on top of the black snake's head gave off a blinding light. At this point, a voice muttered to itself. Who would have thought, a setup from a long time ago actually worked. Following the voice, a person was already standing on top of the black snake's back at some point. This person was wearing a green mask with sharp fangs, one hand holding a tortoise shell while the other hand was quickly calculating. What is he doing? Boss doubtfully asked. Divination, he's calculating, Gu Qingshan replied. Gu Qingshan was surprised, not expecting to run into a cultivator here. And this person was wearing the same mask as the Azura Deific King. Mask, someone who likes to hide themselves? While she was thinking, 2 more figures descended from above and landed on top of the black snake's back. One of them was wearing a pale white mask, the other a jet black mask. They knelt down on one knee on the man's back and spoke in a low voice. Sir, the setup we set up countless years ago actually succeeded before it dissipated, the man wearing the green mask said. What do you mean, sir? The white-masked man asked. It is said that the center of the infinite world's operations is located deep within this void of space. Although it has already been destroyed, it is still worth investigating, then. The black-masked man carefully asked. The man in the green-fanged mask raised his head and looked at the green-furred face above him. This technique has been around for so many years. After all, it has been quite a long time. We still lack the most important coffin to summon. Prepare to complete the technique. Yes. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.